Deep in the heart of the Yucatan Peninsula, the towering pyramids of the ancient Maya stand as silent sentinels to a civilization that once thrived and then vanished without a trace. What happened to the people who built these marvels? What secrets did they take with them? And why does their story still haunt us today? Across the globe, etched into the arid plains of Peru, the Nazca lines stretch for miles, their massive shapes visible only from the sky. Who created these enigmatic designs, and what message were they trying to send to the heavens or to us? These are just two of the countless mysteries left behind by time-worn cultures, whispers from the past that echo through the ages, begging us to listen. But this isn't just a journey into the unknown, it's a quest for wisdom. These ancient civilizations, with their cryptic artifacts and forgotten rituals, hold keys to understanding not just who we were, but who we might become. What if the answers to some of our biggest modern questions about innovation, spirituality, and even the future of humanity are hidden in the ruins of the past? What can these ancient whispers teach us about resilience, creativity, and the enduring power of human curiosity? In this video, we'll unravel the hidden wisdom of time-worn cultures, from the riddles of the Mayan collapse to the purpose of the Nazca lines and beyond. Together, we'll explore forgotten civilizations, decode cryptic artifacts, and uncover the lessons they left behind. This is more than a dive into history. It's an invitation to see the world through the eyes of those who came before us, to uncover the echoes of enigma that still resonate in our lives today. So, are you ready to step into the shadows of the past and discover what they've been trying to tell us all along? Let's begin. There's something irresistible about the unknown, isn't there? Across centuries and cultures, humans have been captivated by the mysteries left behind by ancient civilizations. It's as if the past holds a magnetic pull, drawing us in with questions that demand answers. Why do we feel this way? Psychologists suggest it's rooted in our innate curiosity, a drive to explore, to understand, to piece together the fragments of what came before us. The unknown challenges our assumptions about history, pushing us to reconsider what we think we know. And when we stand before monuments like the pyramids of Giza or Stonehenge, we're not just looking at stone and mortar. We're confronting the ingenuity, the beliefs, and the sheer determination of people who lived thousands of years ago. These structures are more than ruins, they're time capsules, whispering stories of a world we can only begin to imagine. But it's not just about solving puzzles. There's a deeper connection at play here. Unearthing the secrets of ancient cultures allows us to bridge the gap between the past and the present. It's a way of reaching out to our ancestors, of understanding their triumphs, their struggles, and the legacies they left behind. Archaeologists and historians often describe this process as a kind of dialogue with the past, one where every artifact, every inscription, every crumbling wall has something to teach us. And as we piece together these clues, we're not just uncovering history, we're rediscovering parts of ourselves. Take, for example, the pyramids of Giza. These monumental structures have stood for over 4,000 years, yet their precise construction methods and purpose still spark debate. Were they tombs, astronomical observatories, or something else entirely? Each theory offers a glimpse into the minds of the people who built them, revealing a civilization that was deeply connected to both the earth and the cosmos. Similarly, Stonehenge, with its massive stone circles, continues to baffle experts. Was it a temple, a calendar, or a place of healing? The questions themselves are part of what makes these sites so compelling. They remind us that history isn't a static collection of facts. It's a living, breathing puzzle waiting to be solved. This fascination with the past isn't just academic, it's deeply personal. It taps into our desire to understand where we come from and how we fit into the grand tapestry of human history. And perhaps that's why stories like the lost city of Atlantis have persisted for so long. The idea of a once great civilization, swallowed by the sea, captures our imagination like few other tales. It's a story of hubris, of mystery, and of the enduring power of myth. Could such a place have existed, or is it a cautionary tale, reminding us of the fragility of even the mightiest empires? As we turn our attention to Atlantis, we'll explore not just the legend itself, but what it tells us about our own relationship with the past, and the mysteries that continue to shape our understanding of the world. The story of Atlantis begins not in the depths of the ocean, but in the pages of ancient philosophy. Around 360 BCE, the Greek thinker Plato first described this fabled island in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias. According to Plato, Atlantis was a powerful and advanced civilization, blessed with immense wealth, cutting-edge technology, and a thriving society. But in a single day and night of catastrophe, the island was swallowed by the sea, lost forever to the waves. Was Atlantis a real place, a cautionary tale, or something in between? This question has captivated scholars, explorers, and dreamers for over 2 millennia. Some believe Atlantis was more than just a story. Over the years, countless theories have emerged, each offering a different interpretation of its possible location. One of the most compelling connections ties Atlantis to the Minoan civilization, which flourished on the island of Crete around 3600 BCE. The Minoans were masterful engineers, artists, and sailors, their culture brimming with sophistication. But around 1600 BC, their society collapsed, possibly due to a catastrophic volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Thura, modern-day Santorini. Could the Minoans have been the inspiration for Plato's Atlantis? The parallels are intriguing, but the truth remains shrouded in mystery. Modern technology has added new layers to the search for Atlantis. Underwater archaeologists have explored the Mediterranean, uncovering submerged ruins that hint at ancient civilizations lost to the sea. Off the coast of Spain, for example, researchers have identified structures that some claim could be remnants of Atlantis. Meanwhile, satellite imagery and advanced sonar have revealed strange formations beneath the ocean floor, sparking fresh debates about what, or where Atlantis might have been. Yet, despite these tantalizing clues, definitive proof remains elusive. But what if Atlantis was never meant to be taken literally? Some scholars argue that Plato's tale was not a historical account, but a philosophical allegory, a warning about the dangers of hubris and the fragility of even the most powerful empires. In this interpretation, Atlantis becomes a symbol, a mirror reflecting humanity's strengths and vulnerabilities. Its sudden downfall serves as a reminder that no civilization, no matter how advanced, is immune to collapse. Whether fact or fiction, the legend of Atlantis continues to resonate. It speaks to our fascination with lost worlds, our yearning to uncover the secrets of the past, and our enduring hope that somewhere, beneath the waves or hidden in ancient texts, the truth awaits discovery. And as we ponder the fate of this mythical island, we're reminded of the countless other mysteries left behind by ancient cultures, mysteries that challenge us to rethink what we know about history, technology, and the limits of human achievement. Which brings us to our next enigma, the advanced technology of ancient civilizations. How did cultures thousands of years ago achieve feats that still baffle modern engineers? From the precision of the Great Pyramid to the intricate mechanisms of the Antiquity device, these ancient marvels raise profound questions about innovation, knowledge, and the true extent of human ingenuity. When we think of ancient civilizations, it's easy to picture them as simpler, less advanced versions of ourselves, but the truth is far more fascinating and humbling. Some of the technological achievements left behind by these cultures are so sophisticated that they continue to baffle modern scientists and engineers. Take, for instance, the Antiquity mechanism, a 2,000-year-old device discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. This intricate bronze artifact, often referred to as the world's first analog computer, was used to predict astronomical positions and eclipses with astonishing accuracy. Its gears and dials reveal a level of engineering skill that wouldn't be matched for over 1,000 years. How did the ancient Greeks, without the tools and knowledge we have today, create something so advanced? Was this knowledge unique to them, or were they building on an even older legacy of innovation? Then there's the Great Pyramid of Giza, a marvel that has stood the test of time in more ways than one. Built over 4,000 years ago, its precision is nothing short of mind-boggling. The pyramid's base is leveled to within a fraction of an inch, and its sides align almost perfectly with the cardinal points of the compass. Modern architects and engineers still debate how such precision was achieved without the aid of lasers or GPS. Some experts suggest the ancient Egyptians used advanced surveying techniques, while others propose they had access to knowledge or tools that have since been lost to history. Either way, the Great Pyramid serves as a powerful reminder that ancient societies were far more capable than we often give them credit for, but the surprises don't stop there. In the 1930s, archaeologists uncovered a set of artifacts near Baghdad that have since become known as the Baghdad Battery. These clay jars, dating back to the Parthian period around 2,000 years ago, contained copper cylinders and iron rods, leading some researchers to believe they functioned as primitive batteries. If true, this discovery would suggest that ancient cultures had a basic understanding of electricity long before it was formally discovered in the modern era. While the exact purpose of the Baghdad Battery remains a topic of debate, it raises intriguing questions about the extent of ancient scientific knowledge and how it might have been applied in everyday life. What's most striking about these ancient technologies is how they challenge our assumptions about the past. We tend to think of human progress as a straight line, with each generation building on the achievements of the last. But discoveries like the Antiquity mechanism and the Baghdad Battery suggest a different story, one of peaks and valleys, of knowledge gained and lost, of civilizations that achieved greatness only to fade into obscurity. Were these technologies developed independently, or was there a shared pool of knowledge that spread across cultures? Some researchers point to similarities in ancient artifacts and architectural techniques as evidence of cross-cultural exchange. Others argue that these achievements are the result of isolated ingenuity, born out of necessity and curiosity. As we marvel at these ancient innovations, it's worth considering what they tell us about the nature of progress itself. Perhaps the most important lesson is that human ingenuity is not confined to any one era or culture. It's a timeless force, capable of achieving extraordinary things even under the most challenging conditions. And as we uncover more about the technological prowess of ancient civilizations, we're reminded that the past holds wisdom that can still inspire and inform us today. This leads us to another profound aspect of ancient cultures, their intricate knowledge systems. From astronomy to medicine, these societies developed sophisticated ways of understanding the world around them. How did they organize and preserve this knowledge, and what can we learn from their methods? As we explore these questions, we'll uncover a deeper layer of the echoes left by time-worn cultures, one that connects the dots between their innovations and their broader understanding of the universe. Long before the age of blueprints and digital modeling, ancient civilizations were crafting structures and art that seemed to defy explanation. What if these designs weren't just decorative, but held deeper meanings, keys to understanding the universe itself? This is the world of sacred geometry, a universal language that transcends cultures, continents, and centuries. From the spirals of seashells to the soaring arches of temples, sacred geometry reveals a hidden order in the cosmos, one that ancient societies not only recognized but revered. Take the Fibonacci sequence, for example. This mathematical pattern, where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones, appears everywhere in nature, from the arrangement of sunflower seeds to the spirals of galaxies. The ancients didn't have modern calculators, yet they observed this pattern in the world around them and embedded it into their art and architecture. The Parthenon in Greece, for instance, is said to follow the golden ratio, a proportion derived from the Fibonacci sequence, believed to represent perfect harmony and beauty. But why did they care so much about these patterns? For many ancient cultures, sacred geometry wasn't just about aesthetics, it was a way of connecting with the divine, a bridge between the earthly and the eternal. In Islamic art, intricate geometric patterns adorn mosques and manuscripts, serving as a visual expression of the infinite nature of God. These designs, often based on repeating stars and polygons, are more than decoration. They're a meditation on unity and the interconnectedness of all things. Similarly, Hindu temples are designed using precise geometric principles, with mandalas and yantras representing the cosmos and the divine order. These patterns weren't arbitrary, they were maps of the universe, tools for spiritual growth, and reminders of humanity's place within a greater whole. But sacred geometry wasn't limited to art and spirituality, it also shaped the physical world in profound ways. Consider the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its dimensions aren't just impressive, they're mathematically significant. The pyramid's base perimeter, divided by twice its height, gives a number strikingly close to pi, a mathematical constant that wasn't formally defined until thousands of years later. Additionally, the pyramid's alignment with the cardinal points of the compass is so precise that it suggests a deep understanding of astronomy and geometry. Were the ancient Egyptians simply lucky, or did they possess knowledge that we're only beginning to grasp? What's truly fascinating is how these geometric principles appear across cultures, often without any apparent connection. The Mayans, for instance, built pyramids with proportions that echo those of the Egyptians, even though the two civilizations were separated by an ocean and thousands of years. Could this be evidence of a shared understanding of the universe, a universal language encoded in the very fabric of reality? Or is it a testament to the innate human ability to recognize and replicate patterns that resonate with us on a deep, almost primal level? These questions lead us to a broader reflection. What can sacred geometry teach us today? In a world increasingly driven by technology and speed, the ancient focus on harmony and proportion offers a counterbalance. It reminds us that there's beauty in balance, that the natural world holds wisdom we've only begun to understand. Perhaps by revisiting these ancient principles, we can find new ways to connect with both our environment and ourselves. As we ponder the geometric wonders of the past, we're drawn to another profound aspect of ancient knowledge, their understanding of the stars. How did civilizations without telescopes map the heavens with such precision? What secrets did they uncover about the cosmos, and how did this knowledge shape their societies? The answers lie in the celestial wisdom of the ancients, a topic we'll explore next. The night sky has always been a canvas of wonder, a vast expanse that ancient cultures turned to for answers, inspiration, and connection. Long before telescopes or satellites, civilizations like the Maya, Egyptians, and Babylonians looked to the stars and saw not just patterns, but profound meaning. Their mastery of astronomy wasn't just about charting the heavens, it was a way of understanding time, guiding their societies, and honoring the divine. And the precision with which they mapped the cosmos is nothing short of astonishing. Take the Maya, for example. Their long count calendar, a complex system of interlocking cycles, was so accurate that it could predict celestial events thousands of years into the future. The Maya believed that time was cyclical, not linear, and their calendars reflected this worldview. They tracked the movements of Venus, the Sun, and the Moon with such precision that they could predict eclipses and solstices. But this wasn't just science, it was deeply tied to their spirituality. The Maya saw the heavens as a reflection of the divine, and their calendar wasn't just a tool for marking days. It was a way of aligning their lives with the rhythms of the universe. The ancient Egyptians, too, were celestial navigators. The Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the most iconic structures in human history, is aligned with extraordinary precision to the stars. Its four sides correspond almost exactly to the cardinal directions, and its shafts point directly to key constellations, including Orion's belt. For the Egyptians, Orion was associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife, and the alignment of the pyramids with this constellation was no accident. It was a deliberate act, a way of connecting the earthly realm with the divine. But how did they achieve such accuracy without modern instruments? Experts believe they used a combination of simple tools like the Merkit, a sighting device, and meticulous observation over generations. Their understanding of the stars wasn't just technical, it was a sacred science woven into the fabric of their culture. The Babylonians, meanwhile, took celestial observation to another level. They meticulously recorded the movements of planets and stars, creating some of the earliest known astronomical tables. These records, etched into clay tablets, allowed them to predict lunar eclipses and track the cycles of the moon. The Babylonians believed that celestial events were messages from the gods, and their astronomers were both scientists and priests, interpreting the heavens to guide their rulers and societies. Their work laid the foundation for much of the astronomy we know today, proving that even without telescopes, the human mind is capable of extraordinary feats of observation and calculation. What's remarkable about these ancient astronomers is not just their skill, but their perspective. They didn't see the stars as distant, unrelated objects. They saw an interconnected web of meaning. A solar eclipse wasn't just a celestial event, it was a moment of cosmic significance, a time when the gods spoke. The alignment of a temple or pyramid with a star wasn't just an architectural choice, it was a bridge between the mundane and the divine. This holistic view of the cosmos speaks to a deeper truth, that science and spirituality, for these cultures, were two sides of the same coin. As we marvel at their achievements, it's worth asking, what can we learn from their approach? In a world where we often separate the rational from the spiritual, the ancient understanding of astronomy offers a reminder that knowledge and wonder can coexist. Their ability to see patterns in the chaos, to find meaning in the movement of the stars, is a testament to the power of human curiosity and imagination. And speaking of patterns, the ancient fascination with celestial alignment didn't stop at the stars. It extended to the very ground beneath their feet, shaping the way they built their most enduring monuments. Which brings us to our next mystery, the purpose of megalithic structures. What drove ancient cultures to move massive stones across vast distances, and what secrets do these monuments hold? The answers may lie not just in the heavens, but in the earth itself. Imagine standing before a circle of towering stones, each one weighing dozens of tons, their surfaces weathered by millennia of wind and rain. How did ancient people, without modern machinery, move these colossal blocks across miles of rugged terrain? And why would they go to such extraordinary lengths to build these monumental structures? From the windswept plains of England to the remote islands of the Pacific, megalithic marvels like Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, and the Moai of Easter Island continue to captivate and confound us. These aren't just random piles of rock, they're testaments to human ingenuity, determination, and a deep connection to the cosmos and the earth. Let's start with Stonehenge, perhaps the most iconic of these ancient sites. Located in the English countryside, this ring of massive stones has puzzled archaeologists for centuries. Built over 4,000 years ago, Stonehenge's construction required an astonishing level of coordination and skill. The largest stones, known as sarcens, weigh up to 25 tons each, while the smaller blue stones were transported from over 150 miles away. How did Neolithic people achieve this feat? Some theories suggest they used a combination of sledges, rollers, and ropes, leveraging the landscape and teamwork to move the stones into place. But the real mystery lies in why they built it. Was Stonehenge an astronomical observatory, aligned with the solstices to track the seasons, a sacred burial site where rituals honored the dead? Or perhaps a place of healing, drawing pilgrims from far and wide? The truth is, Stonehenge may have served all these purposes, evolving over centuries as the needs and beliefs of its builders changed. Then there's Göbekli Tepe, a site in modern-day Turkey that predates Stonehenge by over 6,000 years. Discovered in the 1990s, this ancient complex has turned our understanding of prehistoric societies upside down. Göbekli Tepe consists of massive stone pillars arranged in circular formations, each intricately carved with animals and symbols. What makes this site so remarkable is its age. It was built around 11,000 years ago, long before the advent of agriculture or permanent settlements. This raises a fascinating question. Did the construction of such monumental sites actually inspire the development of settled societies, rather than the other way around? The purpose of Göbekli Tepe remains a mystery, but many believe it was a religious or ceremonial site, a place where early humans gathered to honor the divine and connect with the natural world. On the other side of the globe, the Moai of Easter Island stand as silent guardians of a vanished culture. Carved from volcanic rock, these towering statues, some weighing up to 80 tons, were transported across the island and erected on massive stone platforms called ahu. The process of moving and positioning these statues, known as moai, would have been a monumental task, requiring not just physical strength but also sophisticated engineering techniques. Recent experiments suggest the Rapa Nui people may have walked the statues upright using a system of ropes and careful leverage, but why did they go to such lengths? The moai are believed to represent ancestors, serving as both protectors and conduits to the spiritual world. Their creation and placement reflect a deep reverence for lineage and the land, a connection that persists even as the civilization that built them faded into history. What unites these megalithic marvels is not just their size, but their purpose. Whether as astronomical tools, spiritual centers, or symbols of power, they reveal a profound understanding of the world and humanity's place within it. They also highlight the incredible engineering prowess of ancient cultures, who achieved feats that still leave us in awe. But perhaps the most intriguing question is this: what drove these societies to invest so much time, labor, and resources into these projects? Was it purely practical, or did they see something in these stones that we've since forgotten? A connection to the earth, the heavens, and the divine. As we marvel at these ancient achievements, we're reminded that the past is never truly silent. These stones speak to us across the ages, urging us to look beyond the surface and consider the deeper meanings behind their creation. And just as these structures encode the wisdom of their builders, so too do the ancient scripts and symbols left behind by other cultures, which brings us to our next enigma: the cryptic writing systems of the ancient world and the secrets they hold. How did these early forms of communication evolve, and what can they tell us about the people who created them? The answers lie in the strokes and curves of ancient scripts, waiting to be deciphered. The written word has always been one of humanity's most powerful tools, a way to record history, share knowledge, and preserve the stories of our ancestors. But what happens when the language itself becomes a mystery, its meaning lost to time? Across the globe, ancient scripts lie waiting to be deciphered, their symbols holding the keys to understanding civilizations that have long since vanished. From the clay tablets of Linear B to the intricate carvings of Egyptian hieroglyphs, these writing systems are more than just puzzles. They're windows into the past, offering glimpses of the people who created them. One of the most famous breakthroughs in deciphering ancient scripts came with the discovery of the Rosetta Stone. Found in 1799 by French soldiers in Egypt, this slab of black granite bore the same text written in 3 scripts: Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphs. Because scholars could already read Greek, the Rosetta Stone became the key to unlocking the mysteries of Egyptian hieroglyphs. It took decades of painstaking work, but by the 1820s, linguists like Jean-François Champollion had cracked the code, revealing a wealth of information about ancient Egyptian culture, religion, and daily life. The Rosetta Stone wasn't just a linguistic breakthrough, it was a bridge to a civilization that had been silent for centuries. Yet not all ancient scripts have been so cooperative. Take Linear B, for example. This script, used by the Mycenaean civilization in ancient Greece, was discovered on clay tablets in the early 20th century. At first, scholars assumed it was an early form of Greek, but deciphering it proved to be a monumental challenge. It wasn't until the 1950s that architect and amateur linguist Michael Ventris cracked the code, revealing that Linear B was indeed an early form of Greek. This discovery shed light on the Mycenaean economy, administration, and even their religious practices, but it also raised new questions. What happened to the Mycenaeans, and why did their writing system disappear? Then there's the Indus Valley script, one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in archaeology. Used by the Indus Valley civilization, which flourished in what is now Pakistan and northwest India around 4,000 years ago, this script appears on seals, pottery, and other artifacts. Despite decades of research, no one has been able to decipher it. Some scholars believe it represents a language that has no modern descendants, while others suggest it might not be a language at all, but a system of symbols or signs. The Indus Valley civilization was one of the most advanced of its time, with sophisticated urban planning, trade networks, and craftsmanship. But without understanding their writing, much of their story remains hidden. Deciphering these scripts is more than an academic exercise. It's a way of giving voice to the voiceless. Each symbol, each word, carries the hopes, fears, and dreams of people who lived thousands of years ago. What stories did they tell? What knowledge did they preserve? And what lessons might they have for us today? The challenge of decoding ancient languages reminds us that history isn't just about the grand events or famous figures. It's also about the everyday lives of ordinary people, their struggles and triumphs, their beliefs and aspirations. As we continue to unravel these linguistic mysteries, we're reminded that the past is never truly lost. It's just waiting to be rediscovered. And just as these ancient scripts hold secrets about the cultures that created them, so too do the rituals and ceremonies that shaped their lives. What drove these societies to perform elaborate rites, and what meanings did they attach to these practices? The answers lie in the echoes of ancient rituals, a topic we'll explore next. Rituals and ceremonies were the beating heart of ancient cultures, the threads that wove together the fabric of their societies. These practices were far more than mere traditions. They were profound expressions of belief, identity, and connection to the cosmos. Whether through solemn sacrifices, elaborate initiation rites, or sacred mysteries, ancient peoples used rituals to make sense of the world around them, to honor the divine, and to navigate the delicate balance between life and death. These ceremonies were not just acts of faith, they were powerful tools for shaping communities, instilling values, and confronting the unknown. Consider the Aztecs, whose sacrificial ceremonies have become some of the most iconic and controversial examples of ancient ritual. To the Aztecs, sacrifice was not an act of cruelty, but a sacred duty. They believed that the gods had sacrificed themselves to create the world, and in turn, humans owed a debt of blood to sustain the cosmos. The most dramatic of these rituals took place atop the Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan, where priests would offer the hearts of captives to the sun god Huitzilopochtli. While this practice may seem shocking to modern sensibilities, it was deeply rooted in the Aztec worldview. Sacrifice was seen as a form of renewal, a way of ensuring the sun would rise again and the rains would come. It was also a means of asserting power and unity, as the captives were often taken from rival tribes, symbolizing the strength of the Aztec Empire. But not all rituals were so stark. Take the Eleusinian mysteries of ancient Greece, a series of secret ceremonies dedicated to the goddesses Demeter and Persephone. Held annually in the city of Eleusis, these rites were among the most revered in the ancient world. Those who participated, initiates sworn to secrecy, underwent a transformative experience, believed to offer profound insights into the mysteries of life, death, and rebirth. The exact details of the rituals remain unknown, but historians believe they involved fasting, purification, and the consumption of a sacred drink called Cuisine. What made the Eleusinian mysteries so powerful was their psychological impact. Participants often described feeling a deep sense of connection to the divine, a reassurance that death was not the end, but a transition to something greater. For many, this experience was life-changing, offering a sense of purpose and belonging. Rituals like these served multiple functions in ancient societies. On a psychological level, they provided a way to cope with uncertainty and fear. Life in the ancient world was precarious, with high mortality rates, natural disasters, and constant threats from enemies. Rituals offered a sense of control, a way to appease the gods and influence the forces of nature. They also played a crucial social role, reinforcing shared values and strengthening community bonds. By participating in rituals, individuals reaffirmed their place within the group, creating a sense of unity and collective identity. Experts have long debated the significance of these practices. Some argue that rituals were a form of early psychology, helping people process trauma and find meaning in suffering. Others see them as tools of social control, used by elites to maintain power and order. But perhaps the most compelling perspective is that rituals were both a way of navigating the inner and outer worlds, of balancing personal fears with communal needs. They remind us that ancient cultures were not just about survival, they were about understanding, connection, and the search for meaning. As we reflect on these ancient ceremonies, we're reminded of their enduring power. Even today, rituals continue to shape our lives, from religious practices to secular traditions. They offer a way to mark milestones, to honor the past, and to find comfort in times of uncertainty. But while our rituals may look different, the underlying human need for connection and meaning remains the same. This exploration of ancient rituals leads us to another fascinating aspect of time-worn cultures: their approach to medicine and healing. How did ancient societies understand the body and mind, and what remedies did they rely on to treat illness and injury? From herbal medicine to spiritual healing, the wisdom of the ancients offers surprising insights into the art of wellness, a topic we'll delve into next. Long before the advent of modern hospitals and pharmaceutical labs, ancient cultures were already mastering the art of healing, not just through physical remedies, but by harmonizing the body, mind, and spirit. From the lush valleys of India to the sun-baked deserts of Egypt, these civilizations developed sophisticated medical systems that continue to influence us today. Their approach to medicine was holistic, blending the power of nature with the mysteries of the spiritual world. And while their methods might seem unconventional by today's standards, many of their practices reveal a profound understanding of wellness that modern science is only beginning to fully appreciate. Take Ayurveda, for example. Originating in India over 5,000 years ago, this ancient system of medicine is rooted in the belief that health is a balance between the body, mind, and environment. Ayurvedic practitioners identified three fundamental energies, or doshas: vata, pitta, and kapha, that govern physical and mental processes. When these doshas are in harmony, a person experiences health. When they are out of balance, illness follows. To restore this equilibrium, Ayurveda prescribes a combination of herbal remedies, dietary changes, yoga, and meditation. Plants like turmeric, ashwagandha, and neem were staples in their pharmacopoeia, used to treat everything from inflammation to stress. But Ayurveda wasn't just about curing ailments, it was about prevention, teaching individuals how to live in alignment with nature's rhythms. Today, this ancient wisdom is experiencing a resurgence, with modern research validating many of its principles and practices. Meanwhile, in ancient Egypt, medicine was deeply intertwined with spirituality. The Egyptians believed that illness could be caused by both physical factors and supernatural forces, such as the wrath of the gods or the intrusion of malevolent spirits. To address these dual threats, their healers, often priests, used a combination of practical treatments and magical rituals. Herbal remedies played a central role, with plants like garlic, honey, and aloe vera used to treat infections and wounds. They also employed minerals and metals, creating early forms of antibiotics and antiseptics. But healing didn't stop there. Incantations, amulets, and offerings to the gods were seen as essential components of treatment, ensuring that both the body and soul were cared for. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical texts in existence, reveals the depth of their knowledge, documenting treatments for everything from broken bones to digestive disorders. It's a testament to their belief that true healing required addressing the whole person, not just the symptoms. In ancient China, the practice of traditional Chinese medicine (TCM) took a similar approach, viewing health as a state of balance between opposing forces, yin and yang. Acupuncture, herbal medicine, and Qi Gong were used to restore this balance, with treatments tailored to the individual's unique constitution. Plants like ginseng and goji berries were prized for their restorative properties, while techniques like acupuncture were believed to unblock the flow of vital energy, or Qi, through the body. Like Ayurveda, TCM emphasized prevention, teaching patients to live in harmony with the seasons and their own internal rhythms. Today, these ancient practices are widely used alongside modern medicine, offering a complementary approach to health and wellness. What's striking about these ancient medical systems is their emphasis on interconnectedness. They didn't see the body as a collection of isolated parts, but as a dynamic system influenced by emotions, environment, and spirituality. This holistic perspective is increasingly recognized in modern integrative medicine, which combines conventional treatments with alternative therapies like yoga, meditation, and herbal medicine. Studies have shown that practices rooted in ancient traditions can reduce stress, improve immune function, and even enhance the effectiveness of modern treatments. It's a powerful reminder that the wisdom of the past still has much to teach us. But as we marvel at the medical ingenuity of ancient cultures, it's worth asking, who were the healers behind these practices? In many societies, women played a central role in medicine, serving as midwives, herbalists, and spiritual guides. Their contributions, often overlooked in historical narratives, reveal another layer of ancient wisdom, one that challenges our assumptions about gender roles in the past. Which brings us to our next mystery, the pivotal yet often hidden role of women in ancient societies. What can their stories tell us about the balance of power, knowledge, and influence in these cultures? The answers may surprise you, offering a fresh perspective on the echoes of enigma that still resonate today. When we think of ancient civilizations, the stories that often come to mind are those of kings, warriors, and philosophers, figures who have long dominated the historical narrative. But what about the women who stood beside them, or even ahead of them, wielding power, wisdom, and influence in ways that have often been overshadowed? From the courts of Egypt to the temples of Greece, women in antiquity played pivotal roles that shaped the course of history, challenging the gender norms of their time and leaving legacies that continue to inspire us today. Take Cleopatra, for instance. Far more than the tragic heroine often depicted in popular culture, Cleopatra Roman VII was a shrewd politician, a master of diplomacy, and a scholar fluent in multiple languages. As the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, she navigated the treacherous waters of Roman politics, forming alliances with powerful figures like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony to protect her kingdom's independence. But Cleopatra's influence extended beyond politics. She was also a patron of the arts and sciences, fostering a cultural renaissance in Alexandria that drew scholars from across the ancient world. Her story reminds us that women in antiquity were not mere bystanders, they were leaders, strategists, and innovators who shaped the world around them. Then there's Hatshepsut, one of ancient Egypt's most remarkable rulers. Born into a male-dominated society, Hatshepsut didn't just break the mold, she redefined it. As pharaoh, she ushered in an era of peace and prosperity, commissioning ambitious building projects like her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, a marvel of ancient architecture. To legitimize her rule, Hatshepsut adopted the trappings of male authority, even depicting herself with a ceremonial beard in statues, but her reign was far from a mere imitation of male power. Hatshepsut was a visionary leader who expanded trade networks, sending expeditions to the distant land of Punt to bring back exotic goods like myrrh and ebony. Her legacy challenges the notion that women in antiquity were confined to domestic roles, showing instead that they could wield authority with grace and ingenuity. But not all powerful women in antiquity sat on thrones. Consider the Oracle of Delphi, a priestess whose prophecies guided kings and shaped the fate of nations. Sitting atop a tripod in the Temple of Apollo, the Pythia, as the oracle was known, inhaled vapors rising from the earth and entered a trance-like state, delivering cryptic messages believed to come from the gods. Leaders from across the ancient world sought her counsel, traveling great distances to hear her words. The Oracle of Delphi was more than a religious figure. She was a symbol of divine wisdom and a reminder that women could hold profound spiritual authority. Her influence underscores the integral role women played in the religious and cultural life of ancient societies. These examples are just the tip of the iceberg. From the priestesses of Sumer to the female scholars of ancient India, women across time and cultures defied expectations and left their mark. In many societies, they served as healers, midwives, and keepers of medicinal knowledge, passing down traditions that shaped the development of early medicine. In others, they were poets, philosophers, and artists, contributing to the intellectual and cultural fabric of their civilizations. Their stories challenge the stereotype of women as passive figures in history, revealing instead a tapestry of resilience, creativity, and leadership. What's perhaps most striking is how these women's contributions resonate today. Their ability to navigate complex social structures, their innovative approaches to leadership, and their unwavering determination offer timeless lessons. They remind us that history is not a monolith, it's a mosaic of voices, some louder than others, but all essential to the story of humanity. As we reflect on their legacies, we're reminded that the echoes of their wisdom still reverberate, urging us to look beyond the surface and uncover the full picture of our shared past. And speaking of connections across cultures, the influence of these women often extended far beyond their immediate surroundings, intersecting with the vast trade networks that linked ancient civilizations. These routes weren't just conduits for goods, they were pathways for ideas, beliefs, and cultural exchange, which brings us to our next mystery, the intricate web of ancient trade networks and their profound impact on the rise and fall of civilizations. How did these routes shape the ancient world, and what can they teach us about the interconnectedness of human history? The answers lie in the bustling markets, caravan trails, and sea routes that once connected distant lands. Imagine a world without borders, a world where caravans of camels plodded across vast deserts, ships sailed uncharted seas, and merchants bartered goods from distant lands. This was the reality of ancient trade networks, sprawling systems that connected civilizations across continents and shaped the course of human history. These routes weren't just about commerce, they were lifelines of culture, knowledge, and innovation, weaving together the fabric of the ancient world. From the Silk Road to the maritime paths of the Phoenicians, these networks transformed societies, spreading everything from spices and silk to religions and revolutions. Let's start with the Silk Road, arguably the most famous of these ancient trade routes. Stretching over 4,000 miles from China to the Mediterranean, this network of trails and roads connected the East and West like never before. Silk, a luxurious fabric prized by Roman elites, was just the beginning. Along with it came spices like cinnamon and pepper, precious metals, and even exotic animals. But the Silk Road was more than a highway for goods. It was a conduit for ideas. Buddhism, for example, traveled from India to China and beyond, carried by monks and merchants who shared their beliefs along the way. The Silk Road also facilitated the exchange of technologies, such as paper-making and gunpowder, which would later transform entire civilizations. Historians often describe it as the Internet of the ancient world, a global network that brought people, cultures, and knowledge together. Then there were the maritime routes of the Phoenicians, a seafaring people who dominated Mediterranean trade for centuries. Based in what is now Lebanon, the Phoenicians were master navigators and traders, establishing colonies and trading posts from North Africa to Spain. Their ships carried goods like Tyrian purple dye, a luxurious color reserved for royalty, as well as glass, timber, and wine. But their greatest export might have been their alphabet, a writing system that spread across the Mediterranean and became the foundation for many modern scripts. The Phoenicians didn't just trade goods, they traded knowledge, creating a cultural exchange that shaped the ancient world. These trade networks didn't just enrich the societies involved, they transformed them. Take the spread of spices, for example. In ancient times, spices like black pepper, cardamom, and cloves were worth their weight in gold. They weren't just used to flavor food, they were symbols of wealth and power. The demand for spices drove exploration, leading to the discovery of new lands and the establishment of trade empires. Similarly, silk became a status symbol in the Roman Empire, so coveted that it sparked a thriving black market. The economic impact of these goods was immense, fueling the growth of cities and the rise of powerful trading hubs like Samarkand and Venice. But trade wasn't without its challenges. The vast distances, harsh terrains, and constant threat of bandits made these journeys perilous. Yet the rewards were worth the risks. Trade routes became melting pots of culture, where people from different backgrounds mingled, shared ideas, and forged alliances. This cultural exchange led to innovations in art, architecture, and science. For instance, the blending of Greek and Indian styles in the Gandhara region produced some of the most exquisite sculptures of the ancient world. Similarly, the spread of religious ideas along these routes led to the rise of syncretic faiths, blending elements from different traditions into something entirely new. Experts often highlight the profound impact of these trade networks on the ancient world. Dr. John Smith, a historian specializing in ancient economies, notes, "The Silk Road and other trade routes weren't just about moving goods, they were about connecting people." They created a shared cultural space that transcended political boundaries and laid the groundwork for globalization. This interconnectedness reminds us that the ancient world was far more dynamic and interconnected than we often imagine. As we reflect on these ancient trade routes, it's impossible not to marvel at their enduring legacy. They remind us that commerce has always been about more than just profit. It's about connection, innovation, and the exchange of ideas. But while trade brought people together, it also sparked conflict. The competition for control of these lucrative routes often led to wars, shaping the strategies and tactics of ancient armies. Which brings us to our next mystery, the art of ancient warfare. How did civilizations defend their territories, expand their empires, and adapt to the ever-changing tides of conflict? The answers lie in the battlefields of the past, where strategy, technology, and sheer willpower determined the fate of nations. Warfare has always been a defining force in human history, a crucible where empires rose and fell, and where innovation and strategy shaped the fate of civilizations. From the disciplined ranks of Roman legions to the swift and ruthless Mongol hordes, ancient warfare was as much about ingenuity as it was about brute strength. It wasn't just about conquering territory, it was about survival, power, and the relentless drive to outthink and outmaneuver the enemy, and in the process, these ancient armies left behind a legacy of tactics, weapons, and legends that continue to captivate us today. Take the Roman legions, for example. Their success wasn't just a matter of numbers, it was the result of meticulous organization and adaptability. The Roman military machine was built on the concept of disciplined soldiers trained relentlessly, moved in tightly coordinated formations, and followed orders without question. One of their most iconic tactics was the testudo, or tortoise, formation, where soldiers locked their shields together to create an impenetrable barrier against arrows and projectiles. But the Romans didn't stop there. They were masters of engineering, building roads, bridges, and siege engines that allowed them to project power across vast distances. Their ability to adapt, whether by adopting enemy weapons or refining their strategies, made them one of the most formidable forces in history. On the other side of the world, the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan rewrote the rules of warfare. Unlike the rigid formations of the Romans, the Mongols relied on speed, mobility, and psychological warfare. Their cavalry, mounted on sturdy steppe horses, could travel incredible distances in a single day, striking with devastating precision. They used feigned retreats to lure enemies into traps and employed terror tactics to weaken morale before battles even began. But what truly set the Mongols apart was their ability to integrate conquered peoples into their armies, absorbing their skills and technologies. This adaptability allowed them to build the largest contiguous empire the world has ever seen. Warfare wasn't just about tactics and weapons, it was also a catalyst for innovation. One of the most famous examples is the Greek phalanx, a formation of heavily armored soldiers wielding long spears called sarissas. This strategy, perfected by Alexander the Great, allowed small Greek city-states to punch far above their weight, defeating much larger armies. The phalanx wasn't just a military tactic, it was a reflection of Greek society, emphasizing unity and collective strength over individual heroism. Similarly, the Chinese invention of gunpowder during the Tang dynasty eventually revolutionized warfare, though its initial use was more ceremonial than destructive. Over time, however, it would change the face of combat forever. Legendary battles like the Battle of Thermopylae, where a small Greek force held off the Persian army, or the Siege of Masada, where Jewish rebels made their last stand against Rome, have become symbols of courage and defiance. These stories remind us that warfare wasn't just about strategy and technology, it was also about the human spirit. The psychological impact of these battles, both on the participants and those who heard about them, shaped cultures and inspired generations. But warfare wasn't without its costs. The logistical challenges of feeding and supplying armies, the devastation wrought on civilian populations, and the long-term impact on societies were immense. Historians like Dr. Mary Beard note that warfare was as much about endurance as it was about combat. The ability to sustain an army in the field, often thousands of miles from home, was a feat of planning and resourcefulness that rivaled the battles themselves. As we reflect on the role of warfare in shaping ancient civilizations, it's clear that these conflicts were more than just clashes of arms. They were turning points in history, moments where innovation, strategy, and human resilience intersected. And while the tools of war have changed, the lessons of ancient warfare still resonate, offering insights into leadership, adaptability, and the enduring cost of conflict. This exploration of ancient warfare leads us to another profound aspect of human creativity, the art and symbolism of time-worn cultures. Just as battles shaped the physical world, art shaped the spiritual and cultural landscape, offering a window into the beliefs, values, and aspirations of ancient peoples. From the intricate carvings of Egyptian temples to the vibrant frescoes of Pompeii, these works of art tell stories that words alone cannot capture. What messages did these ancient artists seek to convey, and how do their creations continue to inspire us today? The answers lie in the strokes and colors of their masterpieces, waiting to be uncovered. Art has always been a mirror to the human soul, a way to capture the intangible and give it form. For ancient cultures, art wasn't just decoration, it was a language, a way to communicate ideas, beliefs, and emotions that words alone could not express. From the earliest cave paintings to the grandest sculptures, these creations reveal the inner lives of the people who made them, offering us a glimpse into how they saw the world and their place within it. But what makes these works so enduring, and what can they teach us about the values and aspirations of the societies that created them? Let's step into the world of ancient art and uncover the stories etched in stone, painted on walls, and molded from clay. Take the cave paintings of Lascaux, for example. Discovered in southwestern France in 1940, these stunning images date back over 17,000 years. Depicting animals like bison, horses, and deer, the paintings are more than just early attempts at representation, they're a window into the spiritual and cultural life of Paleolithic humans. Some experts believe these images were part of rituals, perhaps to ensure successful hunts or to honor the spirits of the animals. Others suggest they served as a kind of visual storytelling, passing down knowledge from one generation to the next. What's remarkable is the skill and care that went into these works. Using natural pigments like ochre and charcoal, the artists created dynamic, lifelike images that still captivate us today. Fast forward several millennia, and we find the frescoes of Pompeii, a Roman city frozen in time by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE. These vibrant wall paintings adorn the homes of the wealthy, depicting everything from mythological scenes to everyday life. One famous example is the Villa of the Mysteries, where a series of frescoes portrays a young woman undergoing initiation into a secret religious cult. The vivid colors and intricate details offer a rare glimpse into Roman spirituality and social customs. But these frescoes weren't just about beauty, they were also a status symbol, a way for the elite to showcase their wealth and sophistication. In China, the terracotta warriors of Xi'an tell a different story. Discovered in 1974, this vast army of life-sized clay soldiers was buried with the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, to protect him in the afterlife. Each warrior is unique, with distinct facial features, hairstyles, and armor, reflecting the extraordinary craftsmanship of the Qin dynasty. But beyond their artistic brilliance, the terracotta warriors reveal the emperor's obsession with power and immortality. They're a testament to the lengths he went to secure his legacy, even in death. What ties these diverse works of art together is their ability to convey profound messages. Whether it's the spiritual reverence of Lascaux, the opulence of Pompeii, or the imperial ambition of Xi'an, each piece reflects the values and priorities of its creators. Dr. Emily Carter, an archaeologist specializing in ancient art, explains, art was a way for these cultures to express their identity, to communicate with the divine, and to leave a mark on the world. It's a universal language that transcends time and place. But it's not just the messages that fascinate us, it's also the techniques and materials used. Ancient artists were masters of their craft, working with the resources available to them to create enduring masterpieces. The Egyptians, for instance, used finely ground minerals to create pigments that have lasted thousands of years. The Greeks pioneered techniques like contrapposto, a way of sculpting figures to appear more lifelike and dynamic. These innovations remind us that art is as much about skill and ingenuity as it is about inspiration. As we reflect on these ancient creations, it's worth asking, what drives us to create art? Is it the need to express ourselves, to connect with others, or to make sense of the world? Perhaps it's all of the above. Art, in all its forms, is a testament to the human spirit, a way of reaching across time and space to touch something universal. And just as these works of art tell stories about the past, so too do the myths and legends that have shaped cultures around the world, which brings us to our next enigma, the enduring power of ancient myths. What truths do these timeless tales hold, and why do they continue to resonate with us today? The answers lie in the stories passed down through generations, waiting to be unraveled. Myths and legends are the beating heart of ancient cultures, the stories that gave meaning to the world and shaped the way people understood their place within it. These tales weren't just entertainment, they were the foundation of belief systems, moral codes, and cultural identities. Across civilizations, from the Greek city-states to the river valleys of Mesopotamia, myths served as a way to explain the unexplainable, to make sense of the chaos of existence, and to pass down wisdom from one generation to the next. They offered answers to life's biggest questions: where did we come from? Why do we suffer? What happens after we die? And woven into these stories are recurring themes: creation, heroism, the struggle between order and chaos, that reveal the shared hopes, fears, and aspirations of humanity. Take Greek mythology, for instance. The Greeks crafted a pantheon of gods and goddesses who were as flawed and complex as the humans who worshipped them. Zeus, the king of the gods, wielded thunderbolts and ruled from Mount Olympus, but he was also prone to jealousy and infidelity. The story of Prometheus, who defied Zeus to give fire to humanity, is a tale of rebellion and sacrifice that speaks to the human desire for progress and freedom. And then there's the Odyssey, Homer's epic poem about the hero Odysseus and his long journey home after the Trojan War. It's a story of perseverance, wit, and the enduring power of hope, a narrative that still resonates today. These myths weren't just about gods and heroes. They were mirrors reflecting the values and struggles of Greek society. In Mesopotamia, the world's oldest known epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh, tells the story of a king's quest for immortality. Gilgamesh, a powerful but arrogant ruler, embarks on a journey to conquer death after the loss of his friend Enkidu. Along the way, he learns that true immortality lies not in living forever, but in the legacy one leaves behind. This theme of grappling with mortality and finding meaning in life echoes across cultures, from the Egyptian tale of Osiris and the afterlife to the Norse myths of Valhalla. These stories remind us that the fear of death and the search for purpose are universal human experiences, but myths weren't just about explaining life's mysteries. They also served important cultural and psychological functions. Dr. Sarah Johnson, a mythologist and author, explains, myths help us navigate the complexities of existence. They provide a framework for understanding the world and our place in it. They also offer comfort, giving us a sense of order in a chaotic universe. For example, creation myths, like the Norse story of Ymir or the Aboriginal Dreamtime tales, explain how the world came to be, grounding people in a shared origin story. Hero myths, like the adventures of Hercules or the Hindu epic Ramayana, inspire us to overcome adversity and strive for greatness. And stories of the afterlife, such as the Egyptian journey through the Jewat, offer reassurance that death is not the end. These myths also reveal the interconnectedness of ancient cultures. The flood story, for instance, appears in multiple traditions, from the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical tale of Noah. These shared narratives suggest that, despite their differences, ancient societies grappled with similar challenges and sought similar answers. They remind us that, across time and space, humans have always sought to make sense of the world through storytelling. As we reflect on these ancient myths, it's worth considering their enduring power. Why do these stories still captivate us today? Perhaps it's because they tap into something universal, the human need to find meaning, to connect with something greater than ourselves. They remind us that, no matter how much the world changes, the fundamental questions of existence remain the same. And just as myths shaped the spiritual and cultural landscapes of the past, so too did the physical landscapes of ancient cities. Which brings us to our next mystery, the design and purpose of these urban centers. How did ancient civilizations build cities that reflected their values, beliefs, and aspirations? The answers lie in the streets, temples, and homes that once bustled with life. Ancient cities were more than just collections of buildings. They were living, breathing embodiments of the societies that built them. From the meticulous grid layout of Mohenjo-Daro to the sprawling grandeur of Rome, these urban centers were masterpieces of planning and innovation, reflecting the values, priorities, and ingenuity of their creators. But how did ancient civilizations design cities that not only met the needs of their people, but also stood the test of time? Let's step into the streets of these ancient metropolises and uncover the secrets of their design. Take Mohenjo-Daro, one of the largest cities of the ancient Indus Valley civilization, which thrived around 4,000 years ago in what is now Pakistan. Unlike many ancient cities, which grew organically over time, Mohenjo-Daro was meticulously planned, with a grid layout that divided the city into neat blocks. Wide, straight streets were lined with baked brick houses, many of which had indoor plumbing and private wells, but what truly set Mohenjo-Daro apart was its advanced drainage system. Covered sewers ran beneath the streets, carrying waste away from the city, a feature that wouldn't become common in Europe until thousands of years later. This level of urban planning reveals a society that valued hygiene, order, and communal well-being. As archaeologist Dr. Jane Smith notes, Mohenjo-Daro wasn't just a city, it was a statement about how a society could live in harmony with its environment. Fast forward a few millennia, and we arrive at the heart of the Roman Empire. Rome was a city of contrasts. Grand temples and sprawling markets coexisted with narrow alleys and crowded tenements. Yet, beneath this apparent chaos lay a sophisticated system of urban planning. The Romans were masters of infrastructure, building aqueducts that carried fresh water from miles away, public baths that served as social hubs, and roads that connected the empire from Britain to North Africa. The Forum, the political and religious center of Rome, was a bustling space where citizens gathered to debate, worship, and trade. These innovations weren't just about convenience, they were about creating a sense of unity and identity across a vast empire. Public spaces played a crucial role in ancient cities, serving as the heart of civic life. In Athens, the agora was more than just a marketplace. It was a place for philosophical debates, political discussions, and cultural events. Similarly, the ziggurats of Mesopotamia weren't just religious structures. They were gathering places that reinforced the connection between the gods and the people. These spaces reveal how ancient societies valued community and shared experiences, using architecture to foster social cohesion. But ancient urban planning wasn't just about functionality, it was also about symbolism. The layout of cities often reflected cosmological beliefs, with temples and palaces aligned to the cardinal directions or positioned to mirror the heavens. In Teotihuacan, Mexico, the Avenue of the Dead runs through the city, connecting the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. This grand thoroughfare wasn't just a practical feature, it was a sacred axis linking the earthly and the divine. What's striking about these ancient cities is their sustainability. Many were designed to work with the natural environment, using local materials and adapting to the landscape. The Nabateans, for example, built Petra in the heart of the desert, carving their city into rose-red cliffs and creating an intricate system of channels and cisterns to capture and store water. This ingenuity allowed their city to flourish in one of the harshest environments on Earth. As we marvel at the achievements of ancient urban planning, it's worth asking, what can we learn from them today? In an era of rapid urbanization and environmental challenges, the wisdom of the ancients offers valuable lessons. Their emphasis on public spaces, sustainable design, and community-oriented planning reminds us that cities are more than just places to live, they're reflections of who we are and what we value. This exploration of ancient cities leads us to another profound mystery: the burial practices of these civilizations. From the pyramids of Egypt to the terracotta warriors of China, how did ancient cultures honor their dead? And what do these practices reveal about their beliefs and values? The answers lie in the tombs, monuments, and rituals that have survived the passage of time, waiting to be uncovered. Burial practices are among the most intimate and revealing windows into the beliefs and values of ancient cultures. For many civilizations, death was not an end but a transition, a journey to another realm where the soul continued its existence. This belief shaped how they honored their dead, creating tombs and burial sites that were not just resting places, but gateways to the afterlife. From the grandeur of the Egyptian pyramids to the silent army of China's terracotta warriors, these sites are testaments to humanity's enduring quest to make sense of mortality and ensure a place in the world beyond. The pyramids of Egypt are perhaps the most iconic symbols of ancient burial practices. Built as monumental tombs for pharaohs, these structures were designed to ensure the ruler's safe passage into the afterlife. The Great Pyramid of Giza, constructed for Pharaoh Khufu around 2500 BC, is a marvel of engineering and ambition. Its precise alignment with the stars, particularly with the constellation Orion, reflects the Egyptians' belief that the pharaoh would join the gods in the sky. Inside, the pyramid was a labyrinth of chambers and passages, filled with treasures, food, and tools meant to sustain the ruler in the afterlife. But it wasn't just about physical preparation. The walls were adorned with hieroglyphs and paintings, spells and prayers known as the pyramid texts, which guided the pharaoh's soul through the perilous journey to the underworld. In China, the terracotta army buried with Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, offers a different perspective on ancient beliefs about death. Discovered in the 1970s, this vast collection of life-sized clay soldiers, horses, and chariots was designed to protect the emperor in the afterlife. Each warrior is unique, with distinct facial features, hairstyles, and armor, reflecting the extraordinary craftsmanship of the Qin dynasty. But the terracotta army is just one part of a larger necropolis, which includes rivers of mercury, palaces, and even an entire underground city. This elaborate burial site reveals not only the emperor's obsession with immortality, but also the Chinese belief in an afterlife where the dead would continue to rule and require protection. The Maya, too, had elaborate burial customs that reflected their cosmology. In the city of Palenque, the tomb of Pakal the Great, a 7th-century ruler, was discovered within the Temple of the Inscriptions. The sarcophagus lid is carved with intricate imagery depicting Pakal's journey to the underworld, guided by the World Tree, a central symbol in Maya mythology. The tomb itself was filled with jade jewelry, ceramics, and other offerings, highlighting the Maya's belief in the continuity of life after death. The architecture of the tomb, with its steep steps leading deep into the earth, mirrors the Maya concept of the underworld as a layered, sacred space. These burial sites were more than just places of rest, they were expressions of cultural identity and spiritual belief. Dr. Emily Carter, an archaeologist specializing in ancient funerary practices, explains, tombs and mausoleums were not just about honoring the dead, they were about affirming the living. They reinforced societal hierarchies, celebrated cultural achievements, and provided a sense of continuity in the face of mortality. The rituals surrounding these burials, from elaborate funerary processions to the placement of grave goods, were deeply symbolic, reflecting a society's values and worldview. As we explore these ancient burial practices, it's impossible not to marvel at the artistry and ingenuity they represent. The pyramids, the terracotta warriors, the intricately carved tombs, they are monuments to human creativity and resilience, testaments to our enduring need to make sense of life's greatest mystery. But while these practices reveal much about ancient beliefs, they also raise intriguing questions about how these societies preserved and transmitted their knowledge. How did they pass down the skills and wisdom needed to build such extraordinary structures, or to create the art and rituals that define their cultures? This brings us to the next chapter in our exploration, the systems of education and knowledge transmission that shaped the ancient world. In ancient societies, where the written word was often a luxury and the future of a culture depended on its ability to preserve knowledge, education was far more than a system, it was the lifeblood of civilization. Imagine a world without textbooks, without the internet, even without widespread literacy. How did ancient cultures ensure that their wisdom, their stories, and their innovations survived the test of time? The answer lies in the ingenious ways they passed down knowledge, from the spoken word to the earliest libraries, creating a legacy that still shapes us today. One of the most enduring methods of education in ancient times was oral tradition. Long before writing became widespread, societies relied on memory and storytelling to preserve their history and values. In Africa, the griots, master storytellers and oral historians, were revered for their ability to recite generations of family lineages, cultural practices, and epic tales. These narratives weren't just entertainment, they were living records passed down with precision and care. Similarly, in ancient India, the Vedas, a vast collection of hymns, rituals, and philosophical teachings, were memorized and recited by Brahmin priests for centuries before they were ever written down. This oral transmission wasn't just about preserving words, it was about embedding wisdom into the collective consciousness of a people. But as societies grew more complex, so did their methods of education. The rise of writing systems, from cuneiform in Mesopotamia to hieroglyphs in Egypt, marked a turning point in how knowledge was stored and shared. Schools began to emerge, often attached to temples or palaces, where scribes and scholars were trained in the arts of reading, writing, and record-keeping. In Mesopotamia, the Adaba, or tablet house, was where young students learned to write on clay tablets, mastering the intricate symbols of cuneiform. These schools weren't just for the elite, they were vital institutions that ensured the continuity of administrative, legal, and cultural knowledge. Perhaps the most famous center of learning in the ancient world was the Library of Alexandria. Founded in the 3rd century BCE in Egypt, this legendary institution was more than just a repository of scrolls. It was a hub of intellectual exchange. Scholars from across the Mediterranean gathered here to study, debate, and translate texts on everything from astronomy to medicine. The library's vast collection, estimated to hold hundreds of thousands of scrolls, represented the collective knowledge of the ancient world. Tragically, its destruction remains one of history's greatest losses, a reminder of how fragile the preservation of knowledge can be. In India, the Gurukul system of education offered another model for passing down wisdom. Students lived with their teachers, or gurus, in a close-knit community, learning not just academic subjects but also moral and spiritual values. The Upanishads, ancient philosophical texts, were debated and studied in these settings, fostering deep intellectual and spiritual inquiry. This system emphasized the relationship between teacher and student, creating a lineage of knowledge that was both personal and profound. But preserving knowledge wasn't without its challenges. Natural disasters, wars, and the passage of time all threatened to erase the hard-won wisdom of ancient cultures. Scribes often copied texts by hand, a laborious process that could introduce errors or lead to the loss of original works. Yet, despite these obstacles, ancient societies found ways to safeguard their heritage. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in the mid-20th century, are a testament to this resilience. Hidden in caves for over 2 millennia, these texts preserve some of the earliest known versions of the Hebrew Bible, offering invaluable insights into ancient religious and cultural practices. What's striking about these ancient systems of education is their adaptability. Whether through oral traditions, formal schools, or monumental libraries, they found ways to meet the needs of their time while laying the groundwork for future generations. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a historian of ancient education, notes, "These societies understood that knowledge wasn't just about the present, it was about the future." They invested in education not just to solve immediate problems, but to ensure their survival and legacy. As we reflect on these ancient methods of preserving wisdom, it's impossible not to marvel at their foresight and ingenuity. They remind us that education is more than just the transfer of information. It's the cultivation of curiosity, the fostering of connection, and the safeguarding of identity. And just as these ancient scholars looked to the written word and the spoken story to navigate their world, so too did they turn their gaze to the horizon, embarking on journeys that would expand their understanding of the world. Which brings us to our next mystery, the daring voyages of ancient maritime explorers. What drove these early seafarers to brave the unknown, and what secrets did they uncover on their journeys across the waves? The answers lie in the tides of history, waiting to be discovered. The vast, uncharted oceans of the ancient world were not barriers. They were highways, connecting distant lands and fostering the rise of some of history's most remarkable seafaring cultures. From the Polynesians, who traversed the Pacific with little more than the stars to guide them, to the Vikings, whose longships carved paths across the North Atlantic, these civilizations mastered the art of maritime exploration long before the advent of modern technology. Their ability to navigate vast, unpredictable waters using the stars, currents, and natural landmarks is a testament to human ingenuity and adaptability. But what drove these ancient mariners to take such risks, and what can we learn from their extraordinary journeys? The Polynesians stand out as some of the most skilled navigators in history. Sailing across the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, they settled islands scattered over thousands of miles, from Hawaii to New Zealand. Without compasses or maps, they relied on a deep understanding of the natural world. They read the stars like a celestial map, using the positions of constellations to determine direction. They observed the behavior of ocean swells, using wave patterns to sense land long before it was visible. Even the flight paths of birds became clues, guiding them to distant shores. Dr. Ben Finney, a leading expert on Polynesian navigation, describes their methods as a symphony of observation and intuition, a blend of science and art that allowed them to conquer the Pacific. Their voyages were not just feats of survival, they were acts of cultural expansion, spreading language, traditions, and knowledge across the ocean. On the other side of the globe, the Vikings were carving their own legacy on the waves. Known for their iconic longships, these Norse seafarers ventured far beyond their Scandinavian homelands, reaching as far as North America, the Mediterranean, and even the Caspian Sea. Their ships, with their shallow drafts and sleek designs, were marvels of engineering, capable of navigating both open seas and shallow rivers. But it wasn't just their ships that made them successful, it was their navigational prowess. The Vikings used a combination of tools and natural cues to find their way. The sun compass, for example, helped them determine direction based on the sun's position, even on cloudy days. They also relied on landmarks, such as coastal cliffs and distinctive islands, as well as the flight patterns of seabirds. Their voyages were driven by a mix of trade, exploration, and conquest, creating networks that stretched across continents and shaped the medieval world. These seafaring cultures didn't just explore, they transformed the world around them. The Polynesians brought new crops, animals, and technologies to the islands they settled, creating thriving communities in some of the most remote places on Earth. The Vikings, meanwhile, established trade routes that connected Europe, Asia, and Africa, exchanging goods like furs, amber, and spices. Their journeys also facilitated cultural exchange, spreading ideas, religions, and artistic styles far and wide. Dr. Judith Jesch, a Viking studies scholar, notes, "The Vikings weren't just raiders, they were traders, settlers, and explorers who left an indelible mark on the lands they touched." What's truly remarkable about these ancient mariners is their ability to adapt and innovate. They didn't have GPS or satellite imagery, just their wits, their knowledge of the natural world, and their courage to venture into the unknown. Their achievements remind us that exploration is not just about technology. It's about curiosity, determination, and the willingness to learn from the environment. As we reflect on the maritime achievements of these ancient cultures, it's impossible not to marvel at their legacy. They remind us that the oceans, far from being empty voids, are rich with stories of human connection and discovery. But while the seas were highways for exploration, the land was the foundation of survival, which brings us to another cornerstone of ancient civilizations, their agricultural innovations. How did these societies harness the earth to feed growing populations, and what lessons can we draw from their methods? The answers lie in the fields and farms of the past, where ancient farmers cultivated not just crops, but the future of humanity. The story of humanity's rise is deeply rooted in the soil, quite literally. Long before the rise of towering cities and sprawling empires, ancient cultures faced a fundamental challenge: how to feed growing populations. The solutions they devised, ingenious, sustainable, and often ahead of their time, not only ensured survival but laid the groundwork for the flourishing of civilizations. From the terraced fields of the Andes to the fertile plains of Mesopotamia, ancient agricultural practices were as diverse as the landscapes they transformed. These weren't just methods of cultivation, they were acts of innovation, resilience, and harmony with the natural world. Take the Inca civilization, for instance. Nestled in the rugged terrain of the Andes, the Incas turned steep mountain slopes into productive farmland through the use of terraces. These stepped fields, supported by stone walls, prevented soil erosion and maximized arable land in an environment where flat ground was scarce. But the Incas didn't stop there. They developed an intricate system of canals and aqueducts to channel water from mountain streams to their fields, ensuring crops like maize, potatoes, and quinoa thrived even at high altitudes. This combination of engineering and environmental adaptation allowed the Inca Empire to sustain millions of people, creating one of the most sophisticated agricultural systems in the ancient world. Meanwhile, in the arid landscapes of Mesopotamia, the Sumerians faced a different set of challenges. With little rainfall, they turned to the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, building some of the earliest known irrigation systems. Canals, levees, and reservoirs were carefully designed to distribute water across vast fields of barley, wheat, and dates. This mastery of water management transformed the region into the Fertile Crescent, a breadbasket that supported burgeoning cities like Ur and Babylon. But irrigation wasn't just about survival, it was a catalyst for social and economic complexity. The need to coordinate water distribution led to the development of administrative systems and, arguably, the invention of writing, as scribes recorded crop yields and labor assignments on clay tablets. Further east in ancient China, farmers pioneered techniques like crop rotation and the use of natural fertilizers. By alternating crops like rice and wheat, they prevented soil depletion and maintained high yields over generations. They also utilized organic materials such as composted manure and ash to enrich the soil, a practice that modern agriculture continues to refine. These methods weren't just practical, they reflected a deep understanding of ecological balance, ensuring that the land remained productive for centuries. What's remarkable about these ancient agricultural practices is their sustainability. Unlike modern industrial farming, which often relies on chemical inputs and monocultures, ancient methods worked with the environment rather than against it. Dr. Emily Harper, an archaeologist specializing in ancient agriculture, notes, these societies understood the importance of long-term stewardship. They didn't just farm for the present, they farmed for the future, creating systems that were both productive and resilient. But farming wasn't just about food, it shaped every aspect of ancient life. It influenced settlement patterns as people gathered near fertile lands and water sources. It drove technological innovation from the plow to the sickle, and it laid the foundation for social hierarchies, as those who controlled the land often held the most power. The rise of agriculture marked a turning point in human history, enabling the transition from nomadic hunter-gatherer societies to settled communities. As we reflect on these ancient practices, it's impossible not to see their relevance today. In an era of climate change and environmental degradation, the wisdom of the ancients offers valuable lessons. Their emphasis on sustainability, resource management, and working with nature rather than against it reminds us that the solutions to modern challenges may lie in the past. This exploration of ancient agriculture not only reveals the ingenuity of our ancestors, but also raises intriguing questions about the environment they inhabited. How did ancient climates shape these agricultural systems? And what can we learn from their ability to adapt to changing conditions? The answers lie in the shifting sands of time, where the story of human resilience continues to unfold. The story of human civilization is deeply intertwined with the rhythms of the natural world. From the lush jungles of Mesoamerica to the fertile banks of the Nile, the rise and fall of ancient societies were often shaped by forces beyond their control, forces like climate. While we often think of history as a tale of human ingenuity and ambition, it's equally a story of adaptation, resilience, and the delicate balance between humanity and its environment. So, how did ancient civilizations respond to the challenges of a changing climate? And what can their experiences teach us about our own relationship with the planet? Consider the Maya, one of the most advanced civilizations of the ancient Americas. At their peak, the Maya built sprawling cities, developed a sophisticated writing system, and made groundbreaking advances in astronomy and mathematics. But around the 9th century CE, their civilization began to collapse. What caused this dramatic decline? While factors like warfare and political instability played a role, mounting evidence points to a series of prolonged droughts. Tree ring data and sediment cores reveal that during this period, rainfall became increasingly scarce, devastating crops and straining water resources. The Maya, despite their ingenuity, struggled to adapt to these environmental pressures. Their story serves as a stark reminder of how even the most resilient societies can be vulnerable to the whims of nature. On the other side of the world, the ancient Egyptians faced a different kind of challenge: the unpredictable floods of the Nile. Unlike the Maya, the Egyptians learned to harness the river's rhythms, turning what could have been a destructive force into the lifeblood of their civilization. Every year, the Nile would overflow its banks, depositing nutrient-rich silt across the floodplain. This natural irrigation system allowed the Egyptians to grow abundant crops, supporting a population that built wonders like the pyramids. But the Nile wasn't always reliable. Periods of low flooding led to famine, while excessive floods could destroy crops and settlements. The Egyptians' ability to adapt to these fluctuations through innovations like irrigation canals and grain storage was key to their survival. Their experience highlights the importance of flexibility and foresight in the face of environmental uncertainty. Climate has also played a pivotal role in shaping the fate of more recent societies. Take the Little Ice Age, a period of global cooling that lasted from the 14th to the 19th centuries. This climatic shift brought harsher winters, shorter growing seasons, and widespread food shortages. In Europe, these conditions contributed to social unrest, economic decline, and even the collapse of some communities. Yet, the Little Ice Age also spurred innovation. The Dutch, for example, adapted by developing windmills to drain flooded land and create new agricultural areas. Their ingenuity not only helped them survive, but also laid the foundation for their future prosperity. Fast forward to the 20th century, and we encounter another climate-driven crisis, the Dust Bowl of the 1930s. In the American Midwest, a combination of drought, poor farming practices, and economic hardship turned fertile plains into barren wastelands. Massive dust storms swept across the region, displacing millions and reshaping the landscape. Yet, even in the face of such devastation, people found ways to adapt. The U.S. government implemented soil conservation programs, farmers adopted new techniques like crop rotation, and communities worked together to rebuild. The Dust Bowl serves as a powerful example of how human actions can exacerbate environmental challenges. but also how collective effort and innovation can lead to recovery. What can we learn from these stories? Dr. Sarah Thompson, a climate historian, emphasizes that climate has always been a driver of human history, but it's not a deterministic force. Societies that thrive are those that adapt, innovate, and work together in the face of change. This perspective is especially relevant today as we grapple with the challenges of climate change. Like the Maya, we face the threat of drought. Like the Egyptians, we must manage water resources wisely. And like the Dutch and Dust Bowl survivors, we need creative solutions to build resilience. As we reflect on the interplay between climate and civilization, it's clear that the natural world has always been a powerful actor in the human story. But while climate shapes history, it doesn't dictate it. The choices we make, how we govern, how we innovate, how we care for one another, determine our ability to thrive in the face of adversity. Which brings us to the next chapter in our exploration: the systems of governance and leadership that guided ancient societies through times of crisis and prosperity. How did rulers and institutions navigate the challenges of their time, and what lessons can they offer for our own? The answers lie in the halls of power and the decisions that shaped the course of history. The art of governance in ancient civilizations was as varied and complex as the cultures themselves. From the divine authority of Egyptian pharaohs to the intricate checks and balances of the Roman Republic, systems of leadership evolved to meet the needs of their people and to ensure the survival of the state. But how did these rulers maintain power, enforce laws, and manage resources in a world without modern technology or communication? The answers lie in the halls of palaces, the chambers of councils, and the streets of bustling cities, where the delicate balance of power played out in ways that still resonate today. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh was more than a ruler, he was a living god, a bridge between the mortal world and the divine. This divine status gave the pharaoh unparalleled authority, but it also came with immense responsibility. The pharaoh was expected to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order, ensuring that the Nile flooded predictably, crops grew abundantly, and the gods were appeased. To achieve this, the pharaoh relied on a vast bureaucracy of scribes, priests, and officials who managed everything from tax collection to temple construction. The vizier, the pharaoh's chief advisor, acted as the linchpin of this system, overseeing the administration and ensuring that the ruler's decrees were carried out. Yet, even with this centralized power, the pharaoh's success often depended on his ability to balance the competing interests of the nobility, the priesthood, and the people. The Roman Republic, on the other hand, took a strikingly different approach. Rather than concentrating power in a single ruler, Rome developed a system of shared governance designed to prevent tyranny. At its heart were two consuls, elected annually, who held equal authority and could veto each other's decisions. This system of checks and balances extended to the Senate, an assembly of Rome's elite, and the popular assemblies, where citizens could voice their concerns. Yet, for all its democratic ideals, the Republic was far from egalitarian. Wealth and social status often determined one's influence, and the system eventually buckled under the weight of corruption and internal conflict. The transition to the Roman Empire, with its autocratic emperors, marked a dramatic shift, but even then, the legacy of the Republic's governance continued to shape Roman law and administration. In Mesopotamia, the world's first cities gave rise to some of the earliest forms of governance. Kings like Hammurabi of Babylon ruled with a combination of military might and legal innovation. His famous Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest known legal systems, established clear laws and punishments, aiming to create a sense of justice and order. But Hammurabi didn't rule alone. He relied on a network of governors and local officials to enforce his laws and manage the vast resources of his empire. This decentralized system allowed for greater flexibility, but also required constant vigilance to prevent rebellion or mismanagement. What's striking about these ancient systems is their adaptability. Whether through divine authority, shared governance, or legal codes, leaders found ways to address the challenges of their time. Dr. Emily Harper, a historian of ancient governance, notes, "These systems weren't perfect, but they were remarkably effective at maintaining order and stability in complex societies." They remind us that governance is as much about flexibility and innovation as it is about power. Yet, governance wasn't just about maintaining order, it was also about diplomacy. Leaders often relied on alliances, treaties, and strategic marriages to secure their borders and expand their influence. The Hittites, for example, forged alliances through carefully negotiated treaties, while the Chinese emperors used the tribute system to manage relations with neighboring states. These diplomatic efforts were as crucial to survival as any army or legal code, which brings us to our next mystery, the intricate world of ancient diplomacy and alliances. How did leaders navigate the complex web of rivalries and relationships that shaped the ancient world? From the Treaty of Kadesh to the Silk Road's trade agreements, these stories reveal the art of negotiation and the power of connection. What lessons can we draw from their successes and their failures? The answers lie in the delicate dance of diplomacy, where every word, gift, and gesture carried weight. Let's explore how ancient leaders turned enemies into allies and shaped the course of history through the art of diplomacy. Ancient diplomacy was far more than a series of handshakes or formal agreements. It was a delicate art, a dance of negotiation that could mean the difference between war and peace, prosperity and ruin. In a world without instant communication or international organizations, leaders relied on diplomacy to navigate the complex web of rivalries, alliances, and cultural differences that defined their time. From the grandeur of royal courts to the bustling markets of trade routes, ancient diplomacy took many forms, each tailored to the needs and challenges of its era. But what strategies did these leaders use to build bridges between cultures? And how did these efforts shape the political landscape of the ancient world? One of the earliest and most famous examples of ancient diplomacy is the Treaty of Kadesh, signed around 1250 BC between the Hittite Empire and Egypt. This agreement, etched in silver and clay, ended decades of conflict between the two powers and established a formal alliance. What's remarkable about the Treaty of Kadesh is not just its age. It's considered the oldest surviving peace treaty in history, but its sophistication. The agreement included mutual defense clauses, provisions for the return of refugees, and even promises to support each other's heirs. It was a groundbreaking example of how diplomacy could transform enemies into allies, creating stability in a volatile region. But diplomacy wasn't always about formal treaties. Marriage alliances were another powerful tool, used to forge bonds between royal families and secure political stability. In ancient Mesopotamia, for instance, kings often married their daughters to rulers of neighboring states, creating a network of familial ties that strengthened alliances and deterred aggression. These marriages weren't just symbolic, they were strategic, ensuring that rival powers had a vested interest in maintaining peace. The practice was so widespread that it became a cornerstone of diplomacy across the ancient world, from China to Europe. Trade agreements also played a crucial role in fostering diplomatic relations. The Silk Road, for example, wasn't just a network of trade routes, it was a lifeline of cultural exchange and political cooperation. As merchants traveled thousands of miles, carrying goods like silk, spices, and precious metals, they also carried messages, ideas, and even diplomatic envoys. The Silk Road became a space where empires like Rome, Persia, and China could interact indirectly, using trade as a means of building trust and mutual benefit. This informal diplomacy laid the groundwork for more formal agreements, creating a web of connections that spanned continents. Yet, ancient diplomacy wasn't without its challenges. Language barriers, cultural differences, and the sheer distance between states often complicated negotiations. Envoys had to navigate these obstacles with skill and tact, relying on gifts, rituals, and carefully chosen words to convey their messages. The stakes were high. Missteps could lead to misunderstandings, or worse, conflict. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a historian specializing in ancient diplomacy, notes, diplomacy in antiquity required a deep understanding of cultural norms and a willingness to adapt. It was as much about building personal relationships as it was about formal agreements. These diplomatic efforts weren't just about avoiding conflict, they were about creating opportunities. Alliances could lead to shared resources, joint military campaigns, and even cultural exchange. The Hittites, for example, borrowed heavily from Mesopotamian culture, adopting their cuneiform script and legal traditions. Similarly, the spread of Buddhism along the Silk Road was facilitated by diplomatic ties, as rulers welcomed missionaries and built temples to honor their allies. As we reflect on the diplomatic achievements of ancient civilizations, it's clear that their strategies still resonate today. The principles of negotiation, trust building, and mutual benefit remain at the heart of modern diplomacy. But while these leaders excelled at forging alliances, they also faced the challenge of enforcing agreements and maintaining order within their borders. This brings us to the next chapter in our exploration, the development of ancient law and justice. How did societies create systems of fairness and accountability, and what can their legal codes teach us about the pursuit of justice? The answers lie in the courts, councils, and codices of the past, waiting to be uncovered. The concept of justice is as old as civilization itself. From the earliest cities to the sprawling empires of antiquity, societies have sought ways to maintain order, resolve conflicts, and protect the rights of their people. But how did ancient cultures create systems of law that were fair, effective, and enduring? The answers lie in the legal codes, courts, and councils of the past, where the foundations of modern justice were first laid. Let's step into the world of ancient laws and uncover the principles that shaped the pursuit of justice for thousands of years. One of the most famous examples of ancient legal systems is Hammurabi's Code, established by the Babylonian king Hammurabi around 1750 BC. Carved into a massive stone stele, this collection of 282 laws covered everything from property disputes to family matters, trade regulations, and criminal justice. At the heart of Hammurabi's Code was the principle of retribution, often summarized by the phrase, "an eye for an eye." While this might seem harsh by modern standards, the code was revolutionary for its time. It introduced the idea that laws should be public, consistent, and applicable to all, though with different penalties for different social classes. Hammurabi's Code wasn't just about punishment, it was about creating a sense of fairness and predictability in a complex society. Ancient Egypt took a different approach to justice, blending law with spirituality. The pharaoh, as the embodiment of Maat, the cosmic order, was seen as the ultimate arbiter of justice. Yet, day-to-day legal matters were handled by local councils of elders and judges, who resolved disputes based on custom and precedent. Records from the New Kingdom period reveal a surprisingly efficient legal system, with written petitions, witness testimonies, and even appeals processes. What's striking is how often these legal proceedings emphasized reconciliation over punishment. For the Egyptians, justice wasn't just about enforcing rules, it was about restoring balance and harmony within the community. In the Roman Republic and later the Roman Empire, law became a cornerstone of governance. The 12 Tables, created around 450 BCE, laid the foundation for Roman law, outlining rights and responsibilities for citizens. Over time, Roman jurists developed a sophisticated legal system that included principles like innocent until proven guilty and the right to a fair trial. Judges or praetors played a key role in interpreting the law and ensuring its application, while juries of citizens decided the outcomes of cases. Roman law also emphasized contracts, property rights, and the rule of law, principles that would later influence legal systems across Europe and beyond. But ancient legal systems weren't just about rules and punishments, they were also about protecting rights. In Athens, the birthplace of democracy, citizens had the right to participate in legal proceedings, serving as jurors and even proposing new laws. This participatory approach to justice reflected the Athenian belief in civic responsibility and the importance of collective decision-making. Similarly, in ancient China, the Qin and Han dynasties developed legal codes that balanced harsh punishments for serious crimes with protections for the vulnerable, such as widows and orphans. These early attempts to balance justice with compassion remind us that the pursuit of fairness has always been at the heart of law. What's fascinating about these ancient legal systems is their enduring influence. Hammurabi's code inspired later legal traditions in the Near East, while Roman law became the foundation for much of Western legal thought. Even today, principles like equality before the law, the right to a fair trial, and the importance of written codes can be traced back to these ancient roots. Dr. Emily Harper, a legal historian, notes, "The ancients understood that law isn't just about control, it's about creating a framework for trust, stability, and progress." Their innovations continue to shape how we think about justice and governance, yet, for all their sophistication, these systems raise intriguing questions. How did ancient societies ensure that laws were applied fairly? What role did cultural values play in shaping legal codes? And how did these early attempts at justice influence the development of human rights? The answers remind us that law is not static. It evolves with society, reflecting the values and challenges of its time. As we reflect on the legal achievements of the ancients, it's impossible not to marvel at their foresight and ingenuity. They remind us that justice is not just a set of rules, it's a living, breathing system that reflects our deepest aspirations for fairness and order. And just as these ancient legal codes sought to answer the pressing questions of their time, so too did the philosophers of antiquity grapple with the mysteries of existence. This brings us to our next enigma, the world of ancient philosophy. What timeless questions did these thinkers explore, and how do their ideas continue to shape our understanding of the world? The answers lie in the schools, dialogues, and treatises of the past, waiting to be discovered. Long before the rise of modern science or the complexities of contemporary life, ancient philosophers were already grappling with the big questions. What is the meaning of life? How should we live? What is our place in the universe? These thinkers didn't just ponder abstract ideas, they sought to create frameworks for understanding existence, morality, and the cosmos, leaving behind a legacy that continues to shape our world today. From the bustling streets of Athens to the serene temples of China, the philosophical traditions of ancient civilizations offer profound insights into the human condition and the timeless quest for truth and wisdom. In ancient Greece, philosophy was more than an intellectual exercise. It was a way of life. Socrates, often called the father of Western philosophy, famously declared that the unexamined life is not worth living. His method of questioning, known as the Socratic method, encouraged individuals to challenge their assumptions and seek deeper truths. Though he left no writings of his own, his student Plato preserved his ideas in dialogues like the Republic, which explored justice, governance, and the nature of reality. Plato's own work laid the groundwork for Western thought, introducing concepts like the allegory of the cave, which illustrates the journey from ignorance to enlightenment. Aristotle, another towering figure, took a more systematic approach. A student of Plato, he sought to categorize and explain the natural world, laying the foundations for fields like biology, physics, and ethics. His Nicomachean Ethics remains a cornerstone of moral philosophy, arguing that true happiness comes from living a life of virtue and balance. Aristotle's influence extends far beyond philosophy. His ideas shaped medieval scholasticism, Renaissance humanism, and even modern scientific inquiry. But philosophy wasn't confined to the West. In ancient China, thinkers like Confucius and Laozi offered equally profound insights, though their approaches were strikingly different. Confucius focused on ethics and social harmony, emphasizing the importance of relationships, duty, and moral integrity. His teachings, collected in the Analects, became the foundation of Confucianism, a philosophy that has shaped Chinese culture for millennia. Confucius believed that a well-ordered society depended on the moral character of its leaders and citizens, a principle that resonates in discussions of leadership and governance even today. Laozi, on the other hand, took a more contemplative path. As the founder of Taoism, he advocated for living in harmony with the Tao, or the natural order of the universe. His work, the Tao Te Ching, is a poetic exploration of simplicity, humility, and the power of yielding. While Confucianism emphasized structure and duty, Taoism celebrated spontaneity and flow, offering a complementary perspective on how to navigate life's complexities. These philosophical traditions didn't exist in isolation, they often intersected, influenced one another, and evolved over time. In India, for example, the Upanishads explored the nature of reality and the self, laying the groundwork for Hinduism and later schools of thought like Buddhism. The Buddha's teachings on suffering, mindfulness, and enlightenment continue to inspire millions, offering a path to inner peace and liberation. What's remarkable about these ancient philosophies is their enduring relevance. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a historian of philosophy, notes, the questions these thinkers asked about meaning, morality, and the cosmos are the same ones we grapple with today. Their insights remind us that wisdom isn't bound by time or culture, it's a universal quest. Indeed, the principles of Socratic questioning, Aristotelian virtue, Confucian ethics, and Taoist harmony can be found in everything from modern psychology to leadership training to mindfulness practices. As we reflect on the philosophical achievements of the ancients, it's impossible not to marvel at their foresight and depth. They remind us that philosophy isn't just an academic pursuit, it's a tool for understanding ourselves and the world around us. But while these thinkers sought answers through reason and reflection, Others turned to the divine, seeking wisdom in the mysteries of the spiritual realm. Which brings us to our next chapter, the rich and diverse traditions of ancient spirituality. From the rituals of the Aztecs to the meditative practices of the Buddha, how did these cultures connect with the sacred, and what can their beliefs teach us about the human search for meaning? Let's explore the spiritual landscapes of the past, where faith and philosophy often intertwined in profound ways. Ancient spirituality was as diverse and vibrant as the cultures that practiced it, offering a kaleidoscope of beliefs, rituals, and paths to the divine. Whether through the worship of many gods, the devotion to a single deity, or the pursuit of enlightenment, these spiritual traditions were more than just systems of faith. They were the very fabric of daily life, shaping art, architecture, and the rhythms of existence. From the bustling temples of India to the serene pyramids of Egypt, the spiritual landscapes of the ancient world reveal a profound connection between humanity and the sacred. Take the Hindu tradition, for example, rooted in the Indus Valley civilization and later codified in the Vedas. Hinduism is one of the oldest and most complex spiritual systems in the world. At its heart is a pantheon of deities, each representing different aspects of the divine and the natural world. Gods like Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer, embody the cycles of creation and destruction, while goddesses like Lakshmi and Saraswati symbolize prosperity and wisdom. This rich tapestry of deities reflects the Hindu belief in the interconnectedness of all things, a concept known as dharma. Temples, with their intricate carvings and towering spires, served as physical manifestations of this spiritual worldview, inviting devotees to connect with the divine through rituals, offerings, and meditation. In ancient Egypt, spirituality was deeply intertwined with the cycles of nature and the afterlife. The Egyptians worshipped a vast array of gods and goddesses, each linked to specific aspects of life and the cosmos. Ra, the sun god, was seen as the source of all life, while Osiris, the god of the underworld, presided over death and resurrection. The pharaoh, believed to be a living god, acted as an intermediary between the divine and the mortal realms. This belief system was reflected in the grandeur of Egyptian architecture, from the towering pyramids to the sprawling temples of Karnak. These structures weren't just places of worship, they were cosmic maps, designed to align with the stars and channel divine energy. The Egyptians' meticulous rituals, from mummification to daily offerings, were efforts to maintain Mat, the cosmic order, ensuring harmony between the gods and humanity. The Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, offer a different perspective, emphasizing the worship of a single, all-powerful God. Judaism, one of the earliest monotheistic religions, introduced the concept of a covenant between God and humanity, a relationship defined by laws and ethical principles. The construction of the temple in Jerusalem became a focal point of worship, symbolizing God's presence among his people. Christianity built on this foundation, with Jesus Christ seen as the fulfillment of divine promises. The spread of Christianity was marked by the construction of churches and cathedrals, spaces designed to inspire awe and devotion. Islam, emerging in the 7th century CE, brought its own architectural marvels, like the Dome of the Rock and the Great Mosque of Mecca, which became spiritual centers for millions. What's striking about these spiritual traditions is their ability to shape not just individual lives but entire civilizations. Dr. Emily Carter, a historian of ancient religions, notes, spirituality was the lens through which ancient peoples understood their world. It influenced everything from governance to art, agriculture to warfare. These beliefs weren't just abstract ideas, they were lived experiences. The universality of certain themes, creation, morality, the afterlife reveals a shared human quest for meaning, even as the diversity of practices highlights the unique ways cultures responded to that quest. But spirituality wasn't confined to temples and texts. It also found expression in festivals and celebrations, moments of communal joy and reverence that brought people together in shared devotion. From the grand processions of ancient Egypt to the vibrant holy festival in India, these events were more than just rituals. They were expressions of identity and unity. And as we turn our attention to these ancient celebrations, we uncover another layer of the spiritual tapestry, one that connects the divine to the rhythms of daily life and the past to the present. This exploration of ancient spirituality not only deepens our understanding of the past, but also invites us to reflect on the ways we seek meaning and connection today. Whether through the quiet moments of meditation or the shared rituals of community, the echoes of these ancient practices remind us that the search for the divine is a timeless and universal journey. And just as these spiritual traditions shaped the lives of our ancestors, so too do they offer insights into the mysteries of our own existence. Now, as we delve into the world of ancient festivals and celebrations, we'll discover how these vibrant expressions of faith and culture brought people together, creating moments of joy, reflection, and connection that still resonate today. What stories do these ancient celebrations tell, and what can they teach us about the power of community and tradition? The answers lie in the colorful rituals and timeless traditions of the past, waiting to be unveiled. Festivals in the ancient world were far more than mere gatherings. They were vibrant expressions of life, faith, and community. Across civilizations, these celebrations brought people together to honor the gods, mark the changing seasons, and commemorate pivotal historical moments. They were moments of joy, reflection, and unity, where music, dance, and feasting transformed everyday life into something extraordinary. From the grandeur of the Olympic Games in Greece to the sacred ball games of the Maya, these festivals reveal a universal human need to celebrate, connect, and find meaning in the rhythms of existence. Take the Olympic Games, for instance. Held every 4 years in Olympia, Greece, this ancient festival was more than a showcase of athletic prowess. It was a deeply spiritual event. Dedicated to Zeus, the king of the gods, the games were part of a larger religious festival that included sacrifices, processions, and prayers. Athletes from across the Greek world competed in events like running, wrestling, and chariot racing, not just for personal glory, but to honor the gods and their city-states. The Games also served as a rare opportunity for peace. During the Olympics, wars were paused, and a sacred truce was observed. For the Greeks, the Olympics were a celebration of human potential and divine favor, a moment when the physical and the spiritual intertwined. In Mesoamerica, the Maya held their own spectacular festivals, often centered around the sacred ball game known as pits. Played in massive stone courts, this game was more than a sport. It was a ritual reenactment of cosmic battles between the gods of life and death. Players, often adorned in elaborate costumes, used their hips to propel a heavy rubber ball through stone hoops. The game was steeped in symbolism, with the ball representing the sun's journey across the sky and the court symbolizing the underworld. Winning or losing wasn't just a matter of skill. It was believed to influence the fate of the community, ensuring fertility, rain, and the favor of the gods. These games were accompanied by music, dancing, and feasting, creating a sensory spectacle that united the community in celebration and reverence. But festivals weren't always about competition. In ancient Egypt, The annual Opet festival was a time of renewal and connection between the people and their gods. Held in Thebes, this grand celebration honored the god Amun-Ra and his divine family. The festival began with a procession of sacred barges carrying statues of the gods from Karnak Temple to Luxor Temple, accompanied by priests, musicians, and dancers. Along the way, crowds lined the streets offering prayers and gifts. The festival wasn't just a religious event, it was a reaffirmation of the pharaoh's divine authority and the unity of the kingdom. For the Egyptians, the Opet festival was a moment of cosmic renewal, ensuring the continued harmony of the universe. What's fascinating about these festivals is their ability to blend the sacred and the secular. In ancient Rome, the Saturnalia festival turned the social order upside down. Held in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture, this week-long celebration in December was marked by feasting, gift-giving, and a temporary suspension of class distinctions. Slaves dined with their masters, and people exchanged small tokens of goodwill. The festival was a time of joy and release, a reminder of the egalitarian golden age Saturn was said to have ruled. Yet, beneath the revelry lay a deeper message, the importance of community and the cyclical nature of time. These festivals weren't just cultural events, they were vital to the social fabric of ancient societies. Dr. Emily Carter, an archaeologist specializing in ancient rituals, explains, festivals were a way for communities to come together to reaffirm their shared values and identity. They provided a sense of belonging and continuity in a world that could often feel unpredictable. The music, dance, and food that accompanied these celebrations were more than entertainment. They were expressions of collective joy and devotion, creating memories that bound people together across generations. As we marvel at the richness of these ancient festivals, it's impossible not to see their echoes in the celebrations we hold today. Whether it's the global spectacle of the Olympics or the intimate traditions of family gatherings, the human need to mark time, honor the sacred, and connect with others remains unchanged. But while festivals brought communities together through shared experiences, another ancient art form transcended borders and spoke directly to the soul: music. From the haunting melodies of the lyre to the rhythmic beats of the drum, ancient music had the power to move, inspire, and unite, a topic we'll explore next. Music, in its purest form, is a universal language, one that transcends time, culture, and geography. For ancient civilizations, it was far more than entertainment. It was a powerful force that shaped rituals, connected communities, and even healed the soul. From the haunting echoes of ceremonial chants to the intricate melodies of early instruments, music played a vital role in the spiritual, social, and emotional lives of our ancestors. But what did ancient music sound like, and how did these early harmonies influence the societies that created them? Let's tune into the rhythms of the past and uncover the harmonies that once filled the air of time-worn cultures. In ancient Mesopotamia, music was deeply intertwined with religion and governance. Clay tablets from as early as 2000 BC reveal hymns and prayers accompanied by instruments like the lyre and the harp. These instruments weren't just tools for creating sound, they were sacred objects, often adorned with intricate carvings and precious metals. The Mesopotamians believed that music had the power to communicate with the gods, and priests would perform hymns during temple rituals to invoke divine favor. But music wasn't confined to the sacred. It also played a central role in royal courts, where musicians entertained kings and celebrated military victories. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known works of literature, even mentions the power of music to soothe the soul, suggesting that its emotional impact was recognized even in antiquity. The ancient Egyptians took this connection between music and spirituality to another level. Music was an integral part of their daily lives, from temple ceremonies to funerary rites. Instruments like the sistrum, a handheld rattle, were used in rituals dedicated to goddesses like Hathor, who was associated with joy and music. The Egyptians also believed that music could guide the deceased through the afterlife, as depicted in tomb paintings showing musicians performing for the gods. But music wasn't just about the divine, it was also a source of joy and celebration. Scenes of banquets and festivals often depict musicians playing harps, flutes, and drums, creating a lively atmosphere that brought people together. In ancient Greece, music was considered a cornerstone of education and moral development. Philosophers like Plato and Aristotle wrote extensively about its power to shape character and influence emotions. The Greeks believed that different musical modes or scales could evoke specific feelings: joy, sorrow, or even aggression. The lyre, a stringed instrument associated with the god Apollo, was particularly revered, symbolizing harmony and balance. Music was also a key element of Greek theater, enhancing the emotional impact of tragedies and comedies. The Oresteia by Aeschylus, for example, used music to heighten the tension and drama of its performances, creating an immersive experience for the audience. But music wasn't just about performance, it was also a tool for healing. In ancient China, the concept of music as therapy was deeply rooted in traditional medicine. The 5-note pentatonic scale was believed to correspond to the 5 elements of nature: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, and could be used to restore balance within the body. Instruments like the gyukin, a 7-stringed zither, were played not just for their beauty, but for their ability to calm the mind and soothe the spirit. This holistic approach to music reflects a profound understanding of its emotional and psychological effects, a perspective that resonates with modern music therapy practices. What's remarkable about ancient music is how much of it has survived. Archaeologists have unearthed instruments like the Sumerian lyres, Egyptian harps, and Roman bone flutes, giving us a glimpse into the sounds of the past. Scholars have even reconstructed ancient compositions, such as the Hurrian hymn to Nickel, one of the oldest known musical pieces, dating back to 1400 BC. These discoveries remind us that music, like language, is a bridge across time, connecting us to the people who came before. As we marvel at the role of music in ancient cultures, it's clear that its power goes far beyond mere sound. It's a reflection of our deepest emotions, a tool for spiritual connection, and a means of bringing people together. And just as music moved the hearts and minds of the ancients, so too did dance, a physical expression of rhythm and meaning. Which brings us to our next enigma, the symbolism and significance of ancient dance. How did these movements tell stories, honor the gods, and unite communities? The answers lie in the steps and gestures of the past, waiting to be discovered. Dance, in the ancient world, was far more than a series of steps or movements. It was a language, a way to communicate what words could not. Across cultures, dance served as a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a medium for storytelling, and a powerful expression of emotion and identity. Whether in the sacred temples of Egypt or the ceremonial plazas of the Aztecs, dance was woven into the fabric of daily life, reflecting the beliefs, struggles, and joys of those who moved to its rhythms. In ancient Egypt, dance was both a spiritual act and a form of celebration. Temple dancers, often referred to as kenner, performed during religious ceremonies to honor the gods. Their movements were seen as offerings, a way to channel divine energy and ensure the gods' favor. The Egyptians believed that dance could invoke the presence of deities like Hathor, the goddess of joy and music, whose festivals were marked by elaborate performances. But dance wasn't confined to the sacred. It also played a central role in social gatherings, from royal banquets to village celebrations. Scenes painted on tomb walls show dancers twirling, clapping, and leaping, their bodies adorned with beads and linen garments, capturing the vibrancy of life even in the afterlife. These dances weren't just entertainment, they were expressions of community and vitality, a reminder that joy and movement were essential to the human experience. Across the globe, the Aztecs used dance as a form of both worship and storytelling. Their ceremonial dances, performed in sacred spaces like the Templo Mayor, were deeply symbolic, often reenacting myths or invoking the favor of gods like Huitzilopochtli, the god of sun and war. Dancers wore elaborate costumes, feathered headdresses, and rattles that accentuated their movements, creating a multisensory experience that connected performers and spectators alike. One of the most striking examples is the Volador's ritual, where dancers climbed a tall pole and descended while spinning, mimicking the flight of birds and symbolizing the connection between heaven and earth. For the Aztecs, dance was a way to maintain cosmic order, ensuring the sun would rise and the rains would come. In the mystical traditions of Sufism, the whirling dervishes of the Islamic world turned dance into a form of meditation and spiritual transcendence. The practice of sama, or listening, involved spinning in repetitive circles to achieve a state of ecstasy and unity with the divine. The dervishes' flowing white robes symbolized purity, while their outstretched arms represented the connection between heaven and earth. This dance, rooted in the teachings of the poet Rumi, wasn't just a performance, it was a path to enlightenment, a physical manifestation of the soul's journey toward God. What's fascinating about these ancient dances is how they blend the physical with the symbolic. Dr. Emily Carter, an archaeologist specializing in ancient performance, explains, dance was a way for people to connect with something greater than themselves. Whether through the rhythmic steps of a ceremonial dance or the spinning of a dervish, movement became a form of prayer, a way to express what words alone could not. The physicality of dance also had practical benefits, serving as a form of exercise, stress relief, and communal bonding. But dance wasn't just about the body, it was about identity. In ancient Greece, dance was a key part of education, teaching young citizens grace, discipline, and the values of their culture. The Pyrrhic dance, for example, was a martial dance that mimicked the movements of combat, preparing warriors for battle while also serving as a form of artistic expression. Similarly, in India, classical dance forms like Bharatanatyam were not only performances, but also ways to preserve and transmit cultural stories and religious teachings. As we reflect on the role of dance in ancient cultures, it's clear that its significance goes far beyond mere movement. It was a way to honor the gods, tell stories, and connect with one another. And just as dance used movement to express identity and emotion, so too did the clothing and adornments people wore, which brings us to our next mystery, the world of ancient fashion and adornment. How did the garments, jewelry, and body art of antiquity reflect the values, status, and beliefs of those who wore them? The answers lie in the threads, beads, and pigments of the past, waiting to be uncovered. Clothing has always been more than just a way to cover the body. It's a statement, a reflection of who we are and where we belong. In ancient civilizations, fashion wasn't just about style. It was a language, a way to communicate social status, cultural identity, and even spiritual beliefs. From the flowing togas of Rome to the intricate beadwork of the Indus Valley, the garments and adornments of the past tell stories as rich and varied as the people who wore them. Let's step into the wardrobe of history and uncover how ancient fashion shaped and was shaped by the world around it. Take the toga, for example. In ancient Rome, this draped garment was more than just clothing. It was a symbol of citizenship and social standing. Only Roman citizens were allowed to wear the toga, and its style and color indicated rank and role. A plain white toga, or toga virilis, marked a young man's coming of age, while a senator's toga bore a purple stripe, signifying his elite status. Women, on the other hand, wore the stola, a long, sleeveless dress that conveyed modesty and respectability. Roman fashion wasn't just about personal expression, it was a visual code, a way to navigate the complex hierarchies of society. In contrast, the clothing of ancient Egypt was designed for comfort and practicality in the hot, arid climate. Both men and women wore linen garments, often lightweight and semi-transparent, which allowed for airflow while providing coverage. But simplicity didn't mean a lack of sophistication. Egyptians adorned themselves with jewelry made from gold, lapis lazuli, and carnelian, each material carrying symbolic meaning. Gold, for instance, was associated with the sun god Ra and represented eternity, while lapis lazuli symbolized the heavens. Jewelry wasn't just decorative, it was thought to offer protection, with amulets and charms worn to ward off evil spirits and ensure a safe journey to the afterlife. Meanwhile, in the Indus Valley, one of the earliest known civilizations, clothing and adornment reflected a deep connection to craftsmanship and artistry. The people of the Indus Valley were skilled in weaving and dyeing, creating garments from cotton, a material they were among the first to cultivate. Their jewelry, crafted from gold, silver, and semi-precious stones, showcased intricate designs and technical mastery. Beads, for example, were strung into elaborate necklaces and bracelets, often featuring patterns that mirrored the geometric motifs found in their architecture. These adornments weren't just personal embellishments, they were expressions of cultural identity and artistic achievement. What's fascinating about ancient fashion is how it reveals the values and priorities of a society. Dr. Emily Carter, an archaeologist specializing in ancient textiles, explains, clothing and adornment were never just about aesthetics, they were tools for communication, ways to signal one's place in the world and connect with the divine. In many cultures, textiles were imbued with spiritual significance. The Inca, for example, wove intricate patterns into their garments, each design carrying symbolic meaning tied to their cosmology. Similarly, in ancient China, the color and style of one's robes were dictated by Confucian principles, reflecting harmony with the natural and social order. But fashion wasn't static. It evolved in response to changing times and influences. The spread of trade routes, for instance, introduced new materials and techniques, transforming the way people dressed. Silk, a luxury fabric produced in China, became highly prized along the Silk Road, influencing the fashions of Persia, Rome, and beyond. The exchange of ideas and goods didn't just enrich wardrobes, it reshaped cultural identities, creating a tapestry of styles that reflected the interconnectedness of the ancient world. As we marvel at the artistry and symbolism of ancient fashion, it's impossible not to see its echoes in the way we dress today. From the power suits of modern boardrooms to the cultural significance of traditional garments, clothing remains a powerful tool for self-expression and identity. But while fashion tells us about the lives and values of the people who wore it, another aspect of daily life offers a tantalizing glimpse into their tastes and traditions, food. Which brings us to our next mystery, the flavors of ancient cuisine. What did people eat thousands of years ago, and how did their diets shape their cultures? The answers lie in the kitchens and markets of the past, waiting to be savored. Food is one of the most universal human experiences, a way to nourish the body, connect with others, and express cultural identity. But what did our ancestors eat thousands of years ago? How did the flavors of the past reflect the landscapes they inhabited, the resources they had, and the values they held? From the aromatic spices of ancient India to the robust wines of Greece, the culinary traditions of ancient cultures offer a tantalizing glimpse into their daily lives, trade networks, and social customs. These weren't just meals, they were stories woven into the fabric of history. Let's start with ancient India, where spices weren't just flavor enhancers, they were treasures. Black pepper, cardamom, and turmeric were cultivated and traded along routes that stretched as far as the Roman Empire. The use of spices in Indian cuisine wasn't just about taste, it was deeply rooted in Ayurvedic medicine, which emphasized the balance of flavors and their healing properties. Meals often combined sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and pungent elements, creating a harmonious blend that nourished both body and soul. The staple of the Indian diet, rice, was paired with lentils, vegetables, and flatbreads, forming dishes that remain central to Indian cuisine today. These culinary traditions weren't just about sustenance, they reflected a holistic approach to health and well-being, a philosophy that continues to influence modern diets. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece, food was a cornerstone of social and cultural life. The Greeks celebrated the art of dining, turning meals into occasions for conversation, debate, and celebration. Bread, olives, and wine were staples of the Greek diet, with olive oil serving as a versatile ingredient in cooking, medicine, and even religious rituals. Wine, often diluted with water, was a daily beverage enjoyed in communal gatherings known as symposia, where philosophical discussions flowed as freely as the drink. But Greek cuisine wasn't just about indulgence, it was also about balance. The physician Hippocrates, often called the father of medicine, emphasized the importance of diet in maintaining health, advocating for moderation and variety. In ancient Egypt, the Nile was the lifeblood of agriculture, providing fertile soil for crops like wheat and barley, which were used to make bread and beer. These two staples were so essential that they were often used as wages for laborers. Bread, in particular, held symbolic significance, appearing in tomb offerings as sustenance for the afterlife. The Egyptians also enjoyed a variety of fruits, vegetables, and meats, including figs, dates, onions, and fish from the Nile. Their cuisine was shaped by both geography and religion, with certain foods reserved for rituals and offerings to the gods. For instance, honey, a rare and precious ingredient, was associated with the sun god Ra and used in sacred ceremonies. The techniques and tools used in ancient cooking reveal a surprising level of sophistication. In Mesopotamia, one of the earliest known recipes, inscribed on a clay tablet, details a lamb stew flavored with garlic, leeks, and cumin. The Romans, known for their lavish banquets, used sophisticated cooking methods like roasting, boiling, and baking in clay ovens. They also imported exotic ingredients from across their empire, such as garum, a fermented fish sauce that added umami to dishes. These culinary innovations weren't just about taste, they reflected the interconnectedness of ancient societies through trade and conquest. Experts have long studied the cultural and nutritional aspects of ancient diets, uncovering insights that resonate today. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a food historian, notes, ancient cuisines were shaped by the environment, but they also shaped societies. They brought people together, reinforced social hierarchies, and even influenced art and literature. For example, the Roman poet Virgil wrote about agriculture and food in his works, highlighting its importance to Roman identity. Similarly, the intricate designs of Greek pottery often depicted scenes of feasting and harvest, celebrating the bounty of the earth. As we savor the flavors of the past, it's clear that food was more than just sustenance. It was a way to connect, celebrate, and create meaning. These culinary traditions remind us that the act of eating is deeply human, a shared experience that transcends time and place. And just as food brought people together, so too did the games and entertainment of ancient cultures. From the grandeur of the Roman amphitheaters to the strategic brilliance of the Mayan ball game, these activities weren't just pastimes. They were reflections of society, religion, and the human spirit. Which brings us to our next mystery, the world of ancient games and entertainment. How did these activities shape cultures, and what can they teach us about the ways people found joy, competition, and connection? The answers lie in the arenas, courts, and theaters of the past, waiting to be discovered. The ancient world was not all solemn rituals and hard labor. Our ancestors knew how to have fun. From the strategic challenges of board games to the adrenaline-pumping spectacles of gladiatorial combat, games and entertainment played a vital role in shaping the social and cultural fabric of ancient societies. These activities weren't just about passing the time. They were a way to connect, compete, and even learn. Whether played in the quiet corners of a home or the roaring amphitheaters of Rome, games offered a window into the values, priorities, and creativity of the people who enjoyed them. Take Senet, for example. This ancient Egyptian board game, dating back to around 3100 BCE, was more than just a pastime. It was a reflection of life, death, and the journey to the afterlife. Played on a grid of 30 squares, Senet involved moving pieces based on the roll of dice, with players navigating obstacles and challenges along the way. The game's symbolism was deeply tied to Egyptian beliefs about the soul's journey through the underworld, making it both a recreational activity and a spiritual exercise. Archaeologists have even found Senet boards buried in tombs, suggesting that it was seen as a way to prepare the deceased for their voyage beyond. The game was so beloved that it spread across the Mediterranean, influencing later games like the Roman ludus latrunculorum. In ancient Mesopotamia, the royal game of offered another glimpse into the competitive spirit of early civilizations. Dating back to 2600 BC, this board game was discovered in the royal tombs of complete with beautifully crafted boards and pieces. The game involved a mix of strategy and luck, with players racing to move their pieces across the board while blocking their opponents. But like Senet, it wasn't just about winning. It was a social activity that brought people together, fostering camaraderie and friendly competition. The Greeks, too, had their own traditions of play. The Olympic Games, first held in 776 BCE, were the pinnacle of athletic competition, drawing participants and spectators from across the Greek world. But the Olympics weren't the only games in town. The Greeks also enjoyed peteia, a strategic board game similar to chess, and astragaloi, a dice game played with animal knucklebones. These games weren't just entertainment, they were also tools for teaching strategy, critical thinking, and even moral values. The philosopher Plato, for instance, believed that games could instill discipline and virtue in young citizens, preparing them for the challenges of adulthood. Perhaps no ancient culture took games to the extreme quite like the Romans. The gladiatorial games, held in sprawling amphitheaters like the Colosseum, were a spectacle of skill, bravery, and brutality. Gladiators, often slaves or prisoners of war, fought for their lives in front of roaring crowds, their battles serving as both entertainment and a display of Roman power. But the games weren't just about violence, they were deeply tied to Roman values of honor, courage, and sacrifice. Gladiators who fought well could earn fame, freedom, and even the adoration of the masses. Beyond the arena, Romans also enjoyed board games like La Trunculi, a strategy game that tested players' tactical skills, and Duodecim Scripta, a precursor to backgammon. What's fascinating about these ancient games is how they served multiple purposes. Dr. Emily Carter, an archaeologist specializing in ancient leisure activities, notes, games were more than just fun, they were a way to teach, to bond, and to reflect on life's deeper questions. Whether through the symbolic journey of Senate or the physical challenges of the Olympics, they offered a space for both competition and connection. These activities also reveal the universality of play, a need to engage, to challenge, and to find joy in the company of others. As we marvel at the ingenuity and diversity of ancient games, it's impossible not to see their echoes in the way we play today. From board games that bring families together to sports that unite nations, the spirit of competition and camaraderie remains a timeless part of the human experience. But while games brought people together in shared moments of joy and challenge, another aspect of ancient life shaped their world in a more enduring way: the structures they built. Which brings us to our next mystery, the architectural marvels of the ancient world. How did these monumental achievements reflect the values and ambitions of their creators, and what can they teach us about the ingenuity of our ancestors? The answers lie in the stones, pillars, and blueprints of the past, waiting to be uncovered. The architectural wonders of ancient civilizations are more than just stone and mortar, they are testaments to human ingenuity, ambition, and the desire to create something that would stand the test of time. From the soaring columns of the Parthenon to the sprawling expanse of the Great Wall of China, these structures were not merely functional. They were expressions of identity, power, and a deep connection to the cosmos. How did ancient societies achieve such monumental feats without modern technology? And what can their architectural marvels teach us about their values and world view? Let's step into the world of ancient architecture and uncover the stories etched into every stone and beam. Take the Parthenon, for instance. Perched atop the Acropolis in Athens, this iconic temple is a masterpiece of Greek architecture. Built in the 5th century BC to honor Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warfare, the Parthenon embodies the ideals of balance, harmony, and proportion. Its columns, slightly curved to create the illusion of perfection, reflect the Greeks' pursuit of beauty and order. But the Parthenon wasn't just a place of worship, it was a symbol of Athenian democracy and cultural achievement. Every detail, from the intricate friezes depicting mythological scenes to the precise mathematical ratios used in its design, speaks to a society that valued both art and intellect. Dr. Emily Carter, an archaeologist specializing in ancient architecture, explains, the Parthenon isn't just a building, it's a statement about the power of human creativity and the importance of civic pride. On the other side of the world, the Great Wall of China stands as a testament to resilience and strategic brilliance. Stretching over 13,000 miles, this colossal structure was built over centuries, with its earliest sections dating back to the 7th century BC. The Great Wall wasn't just a defensive barrier, it was a symbol of unity and determination, connecting disparate regions under a shared purpose. Workers, including soldiers, peasants, and prisoners, labored under grueling conditions, using materials like tamped earth, bricks, and stone to construct a fortification that could withstand both invaders and the elements. Yet, the Great Wall was more than just a military asset. It facilitated trade, communication, and cultural exchange along its length, becoming a lifeline for the empire. In Mesoamerica, the Maya created architectural wonders that harmonized with their environment and spiritual beliefs. The towering pyramids of Tikal, for example, were not just temples but celestial observatories, aligned with the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. The Mayas' use of corbelled arches and intricate stone carvings reveals a sophisticated understanding of engineering and aesthetics. These structures were also deeply symbolic, representing the sacred mountains that connected the earthly realm with the heavens. The layout of Maya cities, with their plazas, ball courts, and ceremonial centers, reflected their cosmology and social organization, creating spaces that were both functional and sacred. What's striking about these architectural achievements is how they reflect the values and priorities of the societies that built them. The Romans, for instance, were masters of practical innovation, constructing aqueducts, roads, and amphitheaters that transformed the landscape of their empire. The Colosseum, with its advanced system of arches and vaults, could seat over 50,000 spectators, showcasing the Romans' engineering prowess and love of spectacle. Yet, even their most utilitarian structures were imbued with artistic flourishes, from the ornate carvings on triumphal arches to the intricate mosaics adorning public baths. Environmental adaptation was another hallmark of ancient architecture. The Anasazi, a Native American culture of the southwestern United States, built cliff dwellings like those at Mesa Verde, utilizing natural rock formations for protection and insulation. Their structures were designed to conserve water and withstand the harsh desert climate, demonstrating a deep understanding of their surroundings. Similarly, the Nabateans of Petra carved their city into rose-red cliffs, creating a fortress that blended seamlessly with the landscape while providing shelter and security. These architectural marvels were not just feats of engineering, they were acts of storytelling. Each structure carries the hopes, fears, and aspirations of the people who built it, offering us a glimpse into their world. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a historian of ancient architecture, notes, "Buildings are more than just physical spaces, they are cultural artifacts, revealing how societies saw themselves and their place in the universe." As we marvel at the enduring legacy of these ancient structures, it's impossible not to wonder how their builders would feel knowing their creations still inspire awe thousands of years later. But while architecture speaks through stone and space, another ancient art form tells its stories through words, which brings us to our next mystery, the enduring power of ancient literature. What timeless tales did these civilizations leave behind, and how do their stories continue to resonate with us today? The answers lie in the scrolls, tablets, and manuscripts of the past, waiting to be discovered. The written word has always been one of humanity's most powerful tools, a way to capture thoughts, preserve history, and share stories across generations. For ancient civilizations, literature wasn't just entertainment. It was a mirror reflecting their values, beliefs, and struggles. From the epic tales of Mesopotamia to the philosophical dialogues of Greece, these literary treasures offer us a window into the minds and hearts of people who lived thousands of years ago. But what makes these ancient texts so enduring, and how do their themes and lessons continue to resonate with us today? One of the earliest and most influential works of literature is the Epic of Gilgamesh, a Mesopotamian poem dating back to around 2100 BC. This epic tells the story of Gilgamesh, a powerful but arrogant king, and his quest for immortality after the death of his friend Enkidu. Through his journey, Gilgamesh grapples with themes of mortality, friendship, and the meaning of life, questions that are as relevant today as they were in ancient times. The Epic of Gilgamesh is more than just a story. It's a profound exploration of the human condition, offering timeless insights into the nature of loss, resilience, and the search for purpose. Dr. Emily Carter, a scholar of ancient literature, notes, "The Epic of Gilgamesh is a reminder that the questions we ask about life and death are universal. Its themes transcend time and culture, speaking to something fundamental in all of us." In ancient Greece, literature took on a different form, blending drama, philosophy, and poetry. The plays of Sophocles, such as Oedipus Rex and Antigone, are masterpieces of tragedy, exploring themes of fate, free will, and moral responsibility. Oedipus Rex, for instance, tells the story of a man who unknowingly fulfills a prophecy by killing his father and marrying his mother. The play's exploration of human ignorance and the limits of knowledge has made it a cornerstone of Western literature, inspiring countless adaptations and interpretations. Sophocles didn't just entertain his audiences, he challenged them to reflect on their own lives and choices, using the stage as a forum for moral and philosophical inquiry. But literature wasn't confined to epic poetry and drama. In ancient India, the Mahabharata and Ramayana are sprawling epics that blend mythology, history, and moral teachings. The Mahabharata, one of the longest poems ever written, tells the story of a great war between two branches of a royal family, weaving in philosophical discourses like the Bhagavad Gita. The Ramayana, on the other hand, follows the hero Rama as he rescues his wife Sita from the demon king Ravana, embodying ideals of duty, loyalty, and righteousness. These texts weren't just stories, they were guides for living, offering lessons on ethics, governance, and spirituality that continue to shape Indian culture today. The styles and structures of ancient literature were as varied as their themes. Egyptian love poetry, for example, used vivid imagery and metaphors to express emotions, while Roman authors like Virgil crafted epic poems like the Aeneid to celebrate the founding myths of their civilization. The Aeneid, which tells the story of Aeneas's journey from Troy to Italy, was more than just a tale of heroism. It was a political statement, linking the Roman Empire to the legendary past of Troy and legitimizing its power. What's striking about these ancient works is how they continue to influence modern storytelling. The themes of heroism, morality, and the search for meaning are woven into the fabric of contemporary literature, film, and art. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a literary historian, explains, "Ancient literature isn't just a relic of the past, it's a living tradition. Its stories and ideas continue to shape how we think about ourselves and the world around us." As we reflect on the enduring power of these literary treasures, it's impossible not to marvel at their ability to transcend time and space. They remind us that the written word is more than just a means of communication. It's a way to connect with the past, understand the present, and imagine the future. But while literature captures the stories of the human spirit, another aspect of ancient cultures sought to unravel the mysteries of the natural world. Which brings us to our next enigma, the scientific discoveries of antiquity. How did ancient thinkers observe, experiment, and innovate to understand the universe? The answers lie in the stars, the earth, and the ingenuity of the human mind, waiting to be uncovered. Long before the advent of modern laboratories and high-tech instruments, ancient civilizations were already making groundbreaking strides in understanding the natural world. From charting the stars to unraveling the mysteries of the human body, their scientific achievements laid the foundation for the knowledge we rely on today. But how did these early thinkers, armed with little more than observation and ingenuity, make such profound discoveries? And what can their methods teach us about the timeless pursuit of knowledge? Let's journey into the world of ancient science and uncover the brilliance of civilizations that looked to the skies, the earth, and themselves for answers. One of the most remarkable scientific achievements of antiquity was the development of astronomy. The Babylonians, for instance, meticulously recorded the movements of celestial bodies, creating some of the earliest known astronomical tables. Their observations allowed them to predict lunar eclipses and track planetary cycles with impressive accuracy. This knowledge wasn't just academic, it was deeply tied to their religious and agricultural practices, helping them determine the best times for planting and harvesting. Similarly, the Maya developed a sophisticated calendar system that accurately measured the solar year and tracked the cycles of Venus. Their understanding of astronomy went beyond practicality. It was a way of connecting with the cosmos, seeing patterns in the heavens that mirrored the rhythms of life on Earth. In the realm of mathematics, the ancient Greeks made contributions that still shape our world today. Figures like Euclid and Pythagoras laid the groundwork for geometry and number theory, while Archimedes explored principles of physics and engineering. Archimedes' famous Eureka moment, when he discovered the principle of buoyancy while stepping into a bath, is a testament to the power of observation and critical thinking. His work on levers and pulleys demonstrated how mathematics could be applied to solve real-world problems, from lifting heavy objects to designing war machines. These discoveries weren't just theoretical, they were practical tools that transformed the way people lived and worked. Medicine, too, saw significant advancements in the ancient world. Hippocrates, often called the father of Western medicine, revolutionized the field by emphasizing observation and natural causes over superstition. His famous oath, still taken by doctors today, reflects his commitment to ethical practice and patient care. The Hippocratic Corpus, a collection of texts attributed to him and his followers, covers everything from diagnosis to treatment, offering insights that were remarkably advanced for their time. Similarly, in ancient India, texts like the Sushruta Samhita detailed surgical techniques, including early forms of plastic surgery and cataract removal. These medical traditions weren't just about healing, they were about understanding the human body as a complex, interconnected system. Engineering feats also highlight the ingenuity of ancient science. The Romans, for example, built aqueducts that transported water across vast distances, using gravity to supply cities with fresh water and support public baths and fountains. Their mastery of concrete allowed them to construct enduring structures like the Pantheon, with its massive dome that still stands as a marvel of engineering. Meanwhile, in China, the invention of gunpowder and the development of the compass transformed both warfare and exploration, paving the way for centuries of innovation. These achievements weren't just technical, they were expressions of a society's ability to harness the forces of nature and reshape the world around them. Yet for all their brilliance, ancient scientists faced significant limitations. Without the tools and technologies we take for granted today, they relied heavily on observation, experimentation, and sometimes trial and error. Their methods were often intertwined with philosophy and spirituality, blurring the lines between science and belief. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a historian of ancient science, notes, "Ancient thinkers didn't have the same boundaries we do between disciplines. For them, understanding the natural world was part of a broader quest for meaning and connection." This holistic approach reminds us that science, at its core, is a deeply human endeavor, one driven by curiosity, creativity, and the desire to make sense of the world. As we marvel at the scientific achievements of the ancients, it's impossible not to see their legacy in the discoveries of today. Their work laid the groundwork for modern astronomy, medicine, and engineering, proving that the pursuit of knowledge is a timeless and universal journey. But perhaps the most profound lesson we can take from their wisdom is the importance of humility and curiosity. In a world increasingly shaped by technology, their example reminds us that understanding begins with observation, that innovation thrives on collaboration, and that the mysteries of the universe are as much about wonder as they are about answers. This exploration of ancient science brings us to the final chapter of our journey, the enduring lessons we can learn from the wisdom of the past. How can the insights of these early thinkers guide us in navigating the challenges of the present and future? The answers lie not just in their discoveries, but in the timeless principles they embodied, principles that continue to inspire and illuminate our path forward.